the StarCraft Twitter.
Oh, nice.
Which was well, okay. So normally, like, I don't know if did you see the first one that we had announcing you coming on? Like, we had like a nice picture of you, and like had some like.
I didn't see that actually.
Okay. Fuck. I should have posted that picture. Here, I'll show it to you because it's actually pretty cool.
Yeah, sure.
It has like little trivia fact about you and stuff like that, and it's like what we do for like when we announce each guest.
I want to see that.
Copy link. Here you go. It's a good picture.
Nice. Yeah. Cool.
Actually,
like
the one we stole it on is even funnier. So, and that's the same. That'll be the same thumbnail for the YouTube video, except for that one's zoomed out, and you can just see Brandon like barely like in the corner, like he's just like kind of like peeking in. He's like, "What?"
That's good. Yeah, I know the exact picture you're talking about.
Okay. Yep. I think Kenzi took him.
Yeah, it's like almost every picture that exists of me on the internet is taken by Kenzi.
Right.
And like a lot of the old ones that were taken by him were before I even knew who he was.
You're like, who's just taking pictures of me?
Dude, Kenzi's awesome. Last year when I went to Korea, like, I had lunch with the guy. He's so awesome.
Super upbeat as well.
Yeah.
Do you still see him at like StarCraft events?
He goes to the GSL. He'll probably be at like the SSL finals and stuff, but like he mostly focuses on the quote unquote alive games. So he's like always at LCK. He's at Apex. Not even every day of Apex. Only when like the Western teams are playing or like high profile teams are playing. Basically, whatever the most important event in terms of that day are on, that's where he's at. So if it's like a top day of GSL, he'll be there. He's been at like the SSL Classic before, like on opening day. I think he was there. So he does only like the top high profile stuff.
That makes sense. Makes sense. Yeah, we're just kind of gonna chat a little bit. Just wait because we didn't do the countdown this time, so we're just gonna talk.
Oh,
we'll just chit chat for like a little bit and let people join up, and then we'll get going here once we get some folks to come in, and then obviously more people will just flow in as we go. So,
how come we didn't get a chance to use the countdown?
I was already talking to Wolf, and I would have had to have muted it. And then I would have had to mute. It would have been a weird setup because like if I mute my mic, then Wolf wouldn't have been able to hear me, or then the stream would have only been able to hear me like with the countdown. Like it's like a weird all or nothing kind of thing. I blame Skype. So, but either way, so but yeah, man, Wolf, thanks for taking the time out to talk to us because he's got to go cast SSL after this.
Yeah, no problem, man.
Who's actually playing today? I haven't looked at the bracket.
Well, basically, everybody plays every day. So, like, it's like round robin. So
oh, I got it.
Today, as I haven't actually started my SSL prep today, so I'll have to look at the matchups again. I have notes on it, but they're on the other. But let me open that up. It's Brood War today, so.
Oh, SSL Classic.
Today will be it's Classic. So today's the Mine Free day. Mine and Free, Rain Hero, Sulky Sock, and Light and Effort. So it's pretty good day matches overall.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Mine and Free is like pretty exciting for me. I just like TVP personally, so that's my bias.
TVP, yeah. I really enjoy the SSL time because it's like you guys are. It's about midway when I wake up. But like I get to like enjoy it for like the first part of my morning. Like when I wake up, like I turn it on, like I'm like walking around the house, like I get coffee, like I get ready for work, and I actually like listen to it like in the drive because I have like an hour commute to work. So I'm like, all right, and then like it usually ends like by the time I get to work, it's like perfect timing. I'm like, perfect, got my StarCraft fix for the morning. I'm ready, go on in. So I don't know. What do you think of their studio over there for the SSL?
The SSL studio is really cool. It actually used to be, it was originally a club. So it's like, when you walk in, if you go all the way down like the double staircase, It feels like a club when you know that it used to be a club. Otherwise, you'd be like, well, this is kind of a weird setup. So you go in there. There's 2 floors. The bottom floor is the main spectator floor, and that's where the stage is. So there's like a giant screen there. If you go on the second floor, there's also seats up there, and you can like look down on like the people that are on the first floor watching. And you know, you also have like a more direct view of the screen from the second floor.
Yeah.
But if you're standing, because if you're sitting, there's a railing and that can kind of get in your way and stuff. So it just depends on where you're sitting and stuff. But
sure.
So it's a two-story setup, and I really like it. It was originally designed with 2 booths actually at the top of the second floors on each side of the stage. So, and they were covered. So the idea was from Pro League, the ace player would be always in that booth hidden, and they would just like remove the cloth. And yeah, they did it a few times, but there were like a few technical problems with those PCs up there, and they were used so rarely that eventually Spo was like, well, we like the idea of just doing the dark studio and the light reveal instead. So yeah, that's what they ended up using at the end.
Yeah, no, it's pretty cool, and I'm glad that, you know, that SSL is back. You know, obviously it was one of those things where like, I don't know what's happening with this for a little bit there, but I'm glad that Gen Air, you know, was like, okay, well, we'll sponsor this, and you know, and kind of made it happen. So
yeah,
I like your guys' like little, like it feels like. And okay, here's what I don't get. So they make you guys like dress up. Like I remember like Rapid and you, and then Valdez like having to wear like the green like striped shirt and stuff. But then they pan to the Korean casters and they just kind of have on like whatever they want. So like, why do they make you wear uniforms but not those guys?
Well, okay, so normally at every Korean league, including like LCK, Overwatch, like you name it, even like the Dota leagues that exist, no matter what it is, the English casters always get given some weird outfit, and we just wear it and we do it. And for a while, like there were definitely moments where English Korean commentators, you know, like the English caster out here tried to fight against it. Like Tastos used the t-shirt blazer, right?
Yeah. And
like eventually they were forced to not do that. And then there have been times where like for Pro League, I've been like, no, like we want to wear our own clothes for the semis and the finals. And like sometimes that we were told yeah, and sometimes we were told no. But eventually, like, at some point, everyone just kind of decided, like, okay, we're all just going to wear what we're told to wear, because that adds to, like, kind of the tradition of Korean esports. Like, it's like, okay, we all wear goofy outfits, and, like, that's just how it is.
You just have fun with matching.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So.
No, this is funny. Like, I don't remember which one of you was it, but it's like, because your setup's, like, a little bit different, too, because they're, like, in, like, these chairs, and you're kind of, like, behind the monitors, like, on, like, it's like a couch, right?
Yeah,
I think it was Rapper who was like, you can't see it, but we're actually chained to this right now. Like we're not actually allowed to leave, you know, because like you just can't like really see them. So it's like, oh, we're not actually allowed to move anywhere. So
yeah, on the first day for that one, I told them they had like somewhere close to what Brennan and Rapid are wearing right now, but I was like, I got the clothes and I put them on, and I was like, I can't do this, and they're like, well, it's like, you know, it's like supposed to be really funny, and I'm like, yeah, but you just make us look bad in these outfits. Like,
yeah,
I was like, why don't we just wear our own casual clothes? Like, that would be like casual. And they were like, oh, okay. And then that's the only day of challenge I did where Rap and I are wearing green jackets. It was just a jacket who wore at work. And everyone's like, oh, they're wearing fishing clothes.
Yeah, you guys are going fishing today. I remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys didn't know this, but actually right after this cast, we're actually going fishing.
Felt like that, right?
No, it's just, I don't know, it's like, it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, but you're not laughing with us, you're laughing at us. Like, don't make me that. Don't do that to me.
Yeah.
But,
exactly.
Well, I think we'll get started here. We got a couple people rolling in. Obviously, more and more people will roll on in. So, guys, welcome to episode 38 of Dank Shrine. As you can see, our awesome guest today is Proxy Wolf, a.k.a. Wolf Schroeder, caster for GSL, previously GSL Code A, GSL Code S, Sub. You've casted SSL, Pro League. You also do the casting for OGN Heroes and OGN Overwatch. What else am I missing?
I did World Tanks very briefly. You pretty much covered it.
Did I get it? Damn, I'm good. Also, you know,
everything.
Professional.
Everything and nothing.
Professional ramen eater, and I would say I would classify you as a ramen shit poster.
Whoa.
That's actually pretty.
Well,
that's pretty accurate.
With the latest one, with the mac and cheese one, I feel like that was a quality one. That was a good one. So if you guys don't know, the latest thing that Wolf tweeted was, why don't you tell it?
So the macaroni and cheese. So the whole joke with me and the Korean stuff, because a lot of people ask me about this all the time, and I explain it, but not everyone knows. So when I was in China a long time ago, December, I was there for a Heroes of the Storm event, and I had already made a few tweets in Korean, and the Korean community was like, it was mostly just the gaming community. It was like, oh, this guy's really funny. Like, he loves Korean food a lot. So I had someone bring me a bunch of food over to the hotel. So like, I basically ordered this like instant noodles to the hotel, and you guys have all probably seen the tweet where like I'm in a hotel robe, like on a bed with like a bunch of instant noodles. That was like the tweet that started it all, and it basically just said like, look, Chinese food's great and all, but like I had to order instant noodles, and like even though I know how screwed up this is, but I just couldn't help it. It's basically that's the idea of the tweet. So a lot of the tweets where you guys see me post food and stuff, you're probably just like, I don't know, he just posted a picture of like Korean barbecue, but it got 2,000 retweets. I don't know. I probably made like some pun or some joke. So the macaroni and cheese tweet is like, so I tried the American cheese ramen, and like I think I'll stick to the Korean ramen for now.
The American cheese ramen. Oh my god. Quality post. But no, you know, because it's funny because like you say you're a real big fan of food, and you kind of always have been. But yeah, I kind of see you as kind of a foodie. You're almost like, because you go and you try stuff and you take pictures, and you're kind of like a Korean food connoisseur almost.
Yeah, I mean, that's the Korean way. Take selfies and take pictures of your food. I usually stick towards the latter.
Yeah, but and alcohol too, right?
That's right.
Because it was what you are in the circle of the soju bottles.
Yeah, the soju bottles thing is. So after I made that first tweet, a bunch of companies reached out to me, and my Twitter profile at the time said that I like Chomcheon more than Jamisil. So those are two soju brands, and so that company Chomcheon. My profile literally said like, I'm a StarCraft caster, blah blah blah, and at the end it said like Jamisil보다 Chomcheon 더 맛있다, which means like Chomcheon is better than Jamisil. And so Chomcheon reached out to me, and they were like, hey, we love your stuff, and we're gonna send you some soju, and what's your address? So I sent them my address, and the guy spoke English too, this marketing guy, so he was like, yeah, we'll send you some soju. He was like pretty casual, and I'm like, is this real? But I looked up and verified, like, it is real, like, it's verified and stuff. And one day I wake up at like 9 a.m., like super early. I just happen to wake up, and I look at my phone. I have a DM from the guy who's just like, a shit ton of soju is about to arrive at your house. And I was like, all right, I don't know what he means. He probably sent me like 20 bottles of soju or something. Yeah. It was like $250 or something.
Oh my god!
Oh my god!
I have tons of soju in my house, and I've had a few parties. And
was it like was it delivered like on a pallet?
No, this one Ajashi like brought it up like box by box by box by box, and like after he was done, I just like gave him some like water and orange juice. He was dying, but he just brought it one by one, and I'm like, it was a thing or two like. He wouldn't even talk to me. He was like so exhausted, and I was like, I just kept asking him like, how much more is it? He's like, and like, he comes back down. I'm like, all right, we're like on box 7, and like he like just comes back, like he just runs back down. I'm like, is he done? And he like comes back up another. I'm like, all right.
Oh my god!
I had like 12 giant boxes of soju.
Damn.
So, why did they make this guy deliver it by himself? Why didn't they find? I found someone to help.
I hope that was his only delivery. He's like, this sucks, but like I'm done after this. Like I just gotta go home.
Hopefully he got a break after that, Probably went home. He's like, I don't want to look at soju for the next 3 months.
So that's how I was able to make that soju tweet. This is the story behind that one.
No, that was an awesome picture too. So, but yeah, guys. So obviously Wolf is our guest for this episode. We got a couple different topics. We'll dive in, and I know you guys have submitted some topics for us to kind of dig into, and we'll get into that. And yeah, we'll kind of go from there, and we'll see what happens. So the first thing I kind of wanted to talk to Wolf about, I kind of wanted to go back to the old days and talk about a little bit about doing the old Code cast. What was your favorite thing at that time about doing it? Because you'd already kind of established like, okay, I'm already in this. You had been doing it for a while. I guess once you were in the trend of doing it.
So there was a time period where like all I wanted to do was cast professionally, and I moved out to Korea, and I thought, I was really nervous and stressed out, like, are people going to hate me? what's going to be like, because the feedback for the other casters that came out after Tastosis was like pretty negative overall.
Yeah.
In fact, like hateful overall. So I was like,
yeah,
well, I hope I can do a good job.
Yeah, Mole Trap didn't get the nicest.
Yeah,
the nicest.
If you go look back at like what people said about Mole Trap and Kelly Milky's, it's like, like community was rabid. So, anyway, so I was really nervous and stressed out when I first moved out there. Then like all the feedback from me was for the most part positive, and I was like, okay, now I can just settle in. And once I got used to like waking up in the morning in Korea, getting dressed and going to a professional studio like it was a job, and not just like this moment of like, oh my god, I really did it, I'm here, but I hope nobody hates me. Once I got into that rhythm, I got to have a lot of fun. And the cool thing about Code A, and if you watch a lot of my casts back then with Caldor, like, we had really good chemistry. We talked about our broadcast a lot, and I think a lot of it was just because he was so much older than me and actually so much more experienced than me, and like he actually was a good mentor to me, and so were Tastos. The three of them were like helping me come into this casting thing and improve really quickly. And I've never had as much fun as I ever did as I casting with Caldor. I think it was just the idea of like back then the community was so active, and StarCraft was basically the biggest game in the world at the time.
Right.
And you have the community, like it was fun to like make a joke, and then a week later find out that someone had clipped it, and that it was on some YouTube highlight clip or something like that. And it doesn't happen as much these days. I feel like there's been a resurgence of that with Tastos' highlights being on the StarCraft subreddit, but StarCraft casting in general has, I think, become a lot drier than it used to be. It used to be like a lot funnier, and everyone used to make jokes all the time.
Yeah.
So that was my fondest memories of back then, is just being able to like joke around, because it was the B tier league,
Sure.
A, and it was just like more fun to just make jokes about players' hair, or what in the world has he got on his shirt, stuff like that.
That's actually something that
talking to himself in the booth.
Yeah, Choya talking to himself.
Choya talking to himself in the booth. Right.
Swearing to himself, you mean?
Keen having one of the most amazing ceremonies ever.
Yeah.
Still, gift and linked to this day.
The Keen clap.
Yeah, exactly. The Keen clap. And Wolf, I don't know if you remember this, but like when I was like really active in live report thread making on Team Liquid, I would always do like themes, and then so like there were times where I even like reached out to you, Caldor, and was like, hey, like what do you guys want to be? And like one time like Caldor sent me a picture of like Bleach characters, like, hey, I want to be this guy and I want Wolf to be this guy, so then I would put that in the live report thread. Like those were some
you
fun
guys
days,
had, see, I feel like back then also a lot of the people in the community were so much more active. Like the live report threads that we have now compared to live report threads we had in the past, not even just in terms of like the original post and some of the threads that you've made in the past, but also like how many people post in them actively. I remember like the first GSL finals would have like 500 pages in the live report thread or more.
Oh yeah,
like 500 pages of people just being like literally posting one-liners like, oh my god, or I can't believe this, or those force fields. And it was a different time, right? And I feel like really nostalgic thinking back to just how active the community was in USA StarCraft, and all the jokes that would come out of that, and the YouTube videos, and Artosis Mind time, and State of the Game, and everything was just so much more active back then. And I feel like a lot of people have moved out of StarCraft, not because they don't like the game anymore or anything, but like they've just gotten older now. They've got like a real job, and a lot of the community members are kind of in that same boat. Like I used to just watch StarCraft myself even before I moved out here, like in my dorm room or then my apartment when I lived alone, and that's what I did. And then now they have a real job. I watch StarCraft VODs. Like I don't watch live. I don't stay up till 5 in the morning. And a lot of people I think in the community don't. They grew up too, and now they have a day job, and it's hard for them to make YouTube videos on the side and make those clips and make those live report threads and watch live with everybody, because now they're married, or they got a real job. So
hey, but that's my bread and butter though. That's exactly what why, because that's me. I have a 9 to 5, married, but I was like, what? No one's doing any more original content. There needs to be more. Like, what's going on? Like, there's more than enough stuff to talk about. I'm like, you know what? If no one's going to do it, I'm going to do it. I don't care if no one likes it. And then it just grew. You know, it was like I got good feedback, and it's like, yeah, just keep going. And then more people started enjoying it. They're like, oh, this is actually really fun. Like, wow, just keep going. And it just got better and better. And, you know, now look at me now. Like, if I would have told myself, you know, back in, you know, 2012 or, you know, 2010 when I first started watching, like on my GOM player, you know, that I had to pay, like, what was it, $10 a month to get the slightly less shitty quality, you know, that, dude, like, one day you're going to be talking to these guys, you're going to be interviewing these players and these casters. I would be like, you're fucking high. Like, I'll never do that. Like, I'd never have the balls to even start something like that. Like, it'll never happen. I would never believe myself. But, you know, here I am today, just taking a chance, and, you know, man, sometimes it works out. Sometimes you take those chances, and, you know, and it turns out right. But,
I just want to point out, I see Set Guitars to Kill in the chat. That's one of the guys, man. One of the guys who makes those live report threads. Like, it's because people like you actually make those threads that when someone's not sure if SSL is on tonight or GSL is on tonight, or, you know, in the past, like, Pro League is on tonight, it's because people like you make those threads, you know, and then somebody's like looks at tournaments, is like, okay, it is live, it is on now.
Yeah.
So I always appreciate all the stuff that you guys do for that on TL and on Reddit, because that's what drives people to find the stuff that we do.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm not sure why he's saying he's depressed. Are we talking about something depressing?
Well, I think we were nostalging. It made him remember the good old days.
All the community members that are no longer here, is that what's making him depressed, I guess? I don't know.
Well, one of the things I wanted to the reason why I kind of wanted to talk about back in the old Code A days is because it's something that we don't really have anymore that I think that they should bring back. Like, I think that the GSL should have, like, because I know that there still is like a Code A, right? Like, they still do have it, it's just not televised at all. But I think it should be, because how do you get to know these lesser known players unless they finally make it? But it's fun to, like, kind of see, like, the rise, like, as they go.
Well, I think that there's definitely, like, so basic Code A now is non-existent, but it's like you could call it qualifiers Code A.
Sure.
But yeah, it's not broadcasted at all. And during the Kespa era, I actually tried to film a lot of that stuff and show first-person views, but, like, it was against Kespa's rules, so I ended up stopping doing it. I haven't done it since, just because I've been so incredibly busy. But Rapids actually put some content out on that. But yeah, like, it used to be, even in the past, there would be Korean streams of the Code A qualifiers, and then there would be even sometimes Korean streams of, like, you know, weird up and down matches or tiebreakers and things like that, but they'll never be broadcast in English, which was always really sad to me. And for me, the thing I've always really been pushing over the last, like, year to a year and a half is the problem with StarCraft. I think the big problem with StarCraft in Korea is the lack of amateur talent that's rising up, because as everyone gets older, people retire. So I feel like having that stuff broadcasted would actually give you even a feeling of stardom to just, like, show up to a qualifier, you know what I mean, or have that Code A extra part. But I mean, there's only so much you could do. I mean, Afrika runs a lot of leagues. I know everyone always thinks about Afrika as just StarCraft, but they do League of Legends as well. They do, like, the female tournament for League of Legends. They have the challenge broadcast there, so they do a lot of stuff. So they don't have enough days, I guess. And Code S is really cool because it's, like, the biggest 1v1 tournament. It's like around a 32 group stage. Like, there's a lot of days of Code S, so I can understand why they cut it out. But for me personally, I mean, that's why I came here basically to cast it. So I miss it in that regard. But yeah, I wish that amateur players had more reasons to play than just, like, oh, I went to the round of 32 of GSL and got wrecked, like, you know, or I tried to qualify but I lost. Yeah, it would be cool to have, like, you know, some spectators for that.
Yeah, well, exactly, and that's why I brought up, because, you know, in your interview with Cyan, you know, you kind of talked about that, like, it's something that we're missing, and, you know, talking about, like, these amateur players, you know, it's almost like they feel like they don't have, like, as much opportunities, because unless you're, like, like a DRG Ling who, like, gets in every now and again and gets brought up, but, like, besides that, it's like, and he's been around, but he's kind of like that cusp player, you know, who kind of, like, he'll get in, but then he'll go out in, like, the round of 32. But it's like, besides people like that, it's like, who else is there? It's like, we don't know them because we don't get to see them, and it's like one of those things where it's like, well, we should, you know, it would be nice more. I mean, you have, like, the, you know, Alima League, you know, and you get some, like, random players and that and stuff, but it would just be better. Like, I just wish we had, like, a more of a structured environment to see those players succeed in, you know, basically. Maybe
Penguin still plays.
Oh yeah, the Korean Penguin.
No, Penguin still plays. I was like, that's ridiculous.
I don't
can't believe he still plays.
A lot of people still play that, like, are competitors from the old times. I just see
Yeah.
them on my Battle.net friends list, and I'm like, still going at it.
Yeah. Like OGS Top still plays.
Yeah.
Rainbow just got out of the military, and I thought I saw him tweet that he might start playing again. I'm not 100% sure on that.
I think he streamed or something, but I haven't seen him, like, actually trying to compete or anything like that.
Yeah. But, like, we've seen, like, Golden come back, but it's like some of these players, they're like, okay, like, they want to pick up where they left off, and, and that's cool too, but it's like, for these younger kids that are coming into it, it's like, okay, well, where's their slot? Like, where is their piece, in this? Because there definitely should be, right? I mean, maybe back in the day, even Code A wasn't as watched as Code S, but it was still watched pretty heavily. I mean, it was definitely worth doing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, I remember days. I mean, think about this. Like, just think about this concept for a second. I remember days, of qualifier broadcasts where, like, we convinced Gom to bring Calder's computer to the venue, or Torch, actually. I don't know if you guys remember Torch.
Oh, yeah.
Qualified for Season 1, Redhead. He brought his laptop, and we streamed qualifier coverage from his laptop several times. Even just, like, having a stream up to, like, literally have me, Caldor, Mole Trap, whoever was there, go walk up to Mike and be like, he just beat so-and-so. And there was, like, 10, 12,000 people would watch that. 10,000 people watch it, just be like, we come up, there's, like, just, like, a camera of the venue, and that's it. And occasionally, like, one of us would just be like, yeah, he just beat Stork. Stork tried qual. He's like, like,
yeah.
Oh my God, everyone in the chat's like, wow. Like, that's, like, more views than some days of GSL get. But, like, back then it was, like, it was so huge. It was so big. It's like, I just want to know, like, did TL, like, win a game yet? Or, whoever's playing. Like, I don't remember exactly which qualifiers we had that stuff for, but...
Yeah.
Maybe we just need to make that. Maybe someone needs to do, like, a direct for amateur Korean players, right? Like, to give them more of a chance. Like, I don't know how you would, like, moderate that. It would be super hard, but, like...
Well,
you have to be GM, but you can't be known. Like, if I've heard of you, you're disqualified. Like, I'm sorry.
Well, that's why, like, that's basically why the offline factor, I think, is really huge, because, like, these players need to have exposure, bases, I think, their names, their IDs, and if it's online, then, like, yeah, barcodes will come in. It's like, who is this guy? He's barcode. I don't know. So,
is it possible to film those venues now that those KESPA teams don't really exist anymore?
As far as I know, yes, because I've seen Rapid make a lot of content there. I think it's just as long as you have permission from the players, you can do it.
Okay.
Whereas, like, the last few streams I did, which were just periscopes basically on my phone, I would ask a player, I don't know, like SOS, and he'd be like, yeah, sure, you can film me, and I just, like, zoom in on his first review, and everyone got really hyped about it. But it would then be, like, later on, like, I would cut, like, some KESPA jail, like, jailer would be like, well, like, Wolf, when you turn it off, you're going to KESPA jail. I'm like, all right. Because actually, people don't know that the way that KESPA works is with the contracts they have with their players, they own the rights to their streams, their personalities, their likeness, etc. So if I'm periscoping, at, like, SOS's ear shows up and his gameplay's there, because I'm, like, zoomed in as far as I can without getting close to him, then, like, that kind of breaks his contract, right? Because, like, they own the rights to his play and stuff. So,
right.
So that's kind of, like, why KESPA does all that, and why the KESPA players didn't stream. Because I mean, some of them streamed on, like, Azubo and stuff, but you know what I mean, for the most part. So I think it is possible now, as long as you get permission from the players. But I don't think Afrika probably wouldn't want to do they wouldn't want to have, like, an official stream, or if they want to do an official stream, they want to, like, make it high production, right? Not just be like because that was the old era of esports, right? Like, no one's doing a stream that's, like, official, that's, like, literally, like, some dude bringing his rig and, like, plugging it in and, like, filming the qualifier area. That's a thing of the past, kind of, at this point.
No, we do that. That's us. That's us at this point. We kind of did when I went to Austin. It was kind of something like that, where it was like, I don't know, I was doing, like, Periscope stuff from my phone and stuff a little bit, and we did our interviews actually off my phone, but it actually turned out super good because I had, like, the lavalier mics hooked up to it. And dude, like, cell phones nowadays, like the camera quality is insane.
That is true.
So, like, you can get by with it. Like, as long as you have, like, a tripod to, like, stabilize it, you can actually get by with it. So
yeah, if you have a battery pack plugged in as well, and you're gonna be all right.
Yeah, so might not look the most professional, but hey, as long as the final product gets you what you're looking for, then do what you need to do. But no, I know what you're talking about. You know, and you want the sense of high quality too, and obviously if they want high quality associated with, you know, Afrika and everything else, you know, and we see Afrika like trying, like with the Diva Cup, you know, like doing the female league kind of stuff. When we see them, you know, they are trying. You know, they're trying to you know keep StarCraft around and you know bringing new things into it. Like I said, I think I would rather see a good amateur player tournament though versus that, to be honest. Not that there's anything wrong with the Diva Cup. I just think I would be more into a longer tournament with, you know, with maybe, what do you call them? Semi-pros, maybe amateur pros. Whatever.
So that's what you call them. I'd rather have like the VSL be a super amateur tournament personally.
Sure.
Like I just want like something that's more professional and like high tier for these amateur players, because Kisato, one of the Korean commentators, would like run amateur tournaments all the time. Mm-hmm. He still commentates GSL as far as I know, not every day or whatever, but like they have rotations. But anyway, he ran like amateur tournaments for a long time, and like even English viewers would watch it. You know, he'd get like 1,000 viewers on the stream, and you just stream it, and people would be like, "Oh, who are these people? I don't know." Or you know, he would like stream Koreans play on the. Remember when like Heartless Forum came out and Legacy of the Void came out before it was actually officially out? People would have like those use map settings maps with all the stats and variables and stuff, and like it would be a Cyclone, but it would actually just be like Hellbat that like hovers a little bit but has the values of a Cyclone. Yeah, he would like stream stuff like that, and like there would be so many amateur players playing that, but just never any opportunity for those guys to do anything except show up for the qualifiers. And like I look at every qualifier bracket, and I'm sure you guys do too, and you people watching do, but it feels like every single season I see less and less and less and less people I've never heard of before, and that's always like what really worries me. Because eventually, like after you try like 4 times, you're like, do you guys remember Tang Tang? Of course,
Tang.
Yeah.
We called him Tang Tang.
He beat Cess. He knocked Cess out of GSL. Code qualifier, man.
See, Seeker remembers.
I do.
He's a StarCraft encyclopedia.
Team Liquid remembers.
But like Tang Tang doesn't come anymore, you know what I mean? Yeah. So that's what I'm trying to get at.
That I'm actually glad you bring this up, because I was going to ask you, you know, if we look at like 2012, you know, 2011, 2012 GSL qualifiers, you know, all those spots were just filled, you know?
Yeah.
The spots were filled, but if you look at a GSL qualifier now, you have so many buys.
So many buys. Yeah.
So many buys. I remember one GSL bracket, like one player got a buy in the first round and a buy in the second round, and just went straight to the third round. Like, it was ridiculous, right? We need more players, but you know, I guess the question is the Korean StarCraft scene even actively doing anything to promote new players to join the scene? Because like I remember, I saw a Reddit post, or not a Reddit post, Blizzard post on Blizzard's website. This Korean guy, he was like really high, I don't know, like 6,000 MMR or something, like Terran player, Grandmaster Terran player, and he was trying to join a Kespa team, but they wouldn't accept him because he just wasn't good enough, you know? And like,
yeah, I mean, there was a lot of growth for Kespa because of the round system in Pro League. So basically, every round you could update your rosters, right? So there was locked for the round, but then after the round you could have like a small, you know, some roster changes, stuff like that. You couldn't trade usually, although I think Kespa kind of like blurred the lines on that exactly sometimes, but like we weren't supposed to be able to trade players until like the free agent period, which would happen after the Pro League season. But there would be these moments where like we'd suddenly see like, what was the guy's name? Guilty, that was on Samsung. Like he would just pop out of nowhere. Like these players that like clearly like good on the ladder, and Samsung would be like, I want to try this guy, but like, you know, I don't know if these guys got paid or not, but they probably didn't, because that's how just kind of Kespa worked and how like B-teamers worked in the past for Pro League. Probably just like, yo, like play some customs with our guys and like play some customs. I really like you. I think you're really talented. We want to have you stay at our house and train with these people. So come sleep over, basically, hang out, talk with the pro gamers, talk with Stork, and just play TBTs with our people because your TBT is really good. And I just want you as a TBT scrim practice partner. You're good enough, we might play you in Pro League maybe. But that was like this fostering environment of like, okay, if I get good enough on the ladder, maybe I hit Stork twice and like I crush him, and he's like, who are you? I've never heard of you. I think the barcode system does hurt this a lot, because sometimes, you know, you might think like you're playing at somebody, but you're playing at somebody else or whatever. Like an amateur player has a barcode too, and But occasionally people would be like, "Who are you? I want to practice with you. I want to train with you. Do you want to come to the team house?" So that environment was really good in Pro League, because if you couldn't qualify for the GSL, you could literally get televised matches played of yourself if the coach put you on the roster that day. Now that Pro League's gone, that's another missing factor. And yeah, it's hard to get on the Kespa team. It's hard to be an amateur pro, but I wouldn't say it wasn't happening. I think that there were definitely a few pros tried out, and there were a bunch of, to be honest, I don't want to say washed up, but weaker StarCraft 1 pros. They got their chance and had their moment in Pro League for StarCraft 2. Players like Bravo, actually had a few good moments in Pro League. People will remember Bravo because he had some good Pro League games. Never really that much notable play in individual leagues, but he had a few snipe maps here and there, and that was what was so amazing about the team league. Now, sadly, there's just no teams and no team houses. And I think some players excel in that environment, but just the nature of the game, no sponsors. So, I feel like if there were almost forced sponsors somehow, or almost sponsor welfare, just forged teams somehow, then maybe that scene could grow again. But just not money in it right now, and that means there's no teams, which means if you're a young player in Korea, and say you're 12 years old, and you're I find that when I play with my friends, I'm pretty good, and every game I touch, I'm pretty good, and I want to play a game, I want to be a pro gamer, and all my friends are man, you could be a pro. Probably looking at League of Legends and Overwatch a lot more closely than I'm looking at StarCraft right now, just because of how it's supported, and how many fans are in Korea, etc. So that's always the big problem, is the talent drain from StarCraft moves into League of Legends and Overwatch, and I'm hoping that with Brood War Remastered, there's a new huge resurgence of players that are I watch Faker on TV, I want to be Faker, but then also I saw Flash versus Jadong at the ASL. That was really cool. I want to be Jadong, that sort of thing.
Right. No, and it's it's cool that we're seeing more tension being brought back, into both, really, into StarCraft 2 and into Brood War. Which kind of is going to lead me into our next topic here for Brood War. And obviously, you cast ASL, or not ASL, SSL Classic for Brood War, and then you do SSL for StarCraft 2. Do you think that with the launch of Remastered, once they kind of figured out all these bugs, right, that once we were able to broadcast it in the HD? Because from what I understand from what Blizzard said, that what should be possible is both players should be able to play in Classic mode and Classic view, but the broadcaster and the observer can have the HD, on.
That's my understanding as well. Yeah.
Okay. Do you think that will help with viewership as well? Because it'll be something a little more cleaner to look at.
I think that's a really good question, because I think for a lot of Korean fans, they might want to watch in the classic version. But I think for a lot of Western fans, I'd say most Western fans want to see HD. Right. From what I've seen of the HD, because I haven't actually played it yet, but just based on the stuff I've been shown, and even the hype reveal video with the slider. I know a lot of people don't know this, but those the slider stuff that was shown in the original remaster video was from ASL Pro matches, all of those scenes. So from what I've seen, it looks quite good. I think it looks really nice, and I'm hoping that everyone in the world embraces the remastered version. Although for me personally, when I play, I'm probably going to play in the classic graphics.
Yeah.
But I hope that everyone embraces that, because even if you're that pro gamer who's really no, I'll never play on HD graphics, you could still literally play in the booth on classic, and that could even become a hype storyline in the future. When the tournaments get bigger and bigger, it's Bisu still plays on classic, but this new amateur pro, he plays on HD graphics, and talking about that and what it means, and how customizable it is. I think that's really cool, because that brings it back to how old the game is and how much history there is in the game. Because it's just so old. I mean, StarCraft tournaments were happening in Chris, it's 1999, so...
Right.
I will say this, though. Korean people are stupid, because...
Well, that's a pretty broad statement there, Seeker.
Hold on. Let me explain. All right. So we had TB Ellis, right? Tekbang Lee-sang at the GSL finals for Sue versus Stats, right? They played a show match, right?
Mm.
So many people who came into the Twitch chat were like, "Yo, these HD remastered graphics are amazing," and people were like, "You're stupid. This is not HD remastered.
This is classic.
It's just a 1080p stream.
Yeah,
that's all. It's still classic." People were like, "Oh, these graphics look so amazing. I'm so glad Blizzard did this. I'm coming back to StarCraft." People were like, "You're dumb."
Well,
I mean,
stupid. I mean, a lot of the broadcasts that we know and love. If you go look up the broadcasts on YouTube, you're just like, "Ooh, this is 420p at best." Like this is 4x3 TV broadcasts from like the early 2000s in Korea. So like when you watch old Pro League broadcasts, it's like if you like max it out on YouTube and like press the quality button, you're like, "Oh, I gotta upgrade the quality," and then you're like, "Oh, this is like
there's none." Yeah.
You see auto and you get excited. You're like, "Oh, it's on auto quality. I guess maybe my internet connection had a hiccup." And then it's like 144p is all you can choose, and you're like, "Oh, that's not good."
It actually amazes me how popular StarCraft was in Korea with viewers when you think about what quality they were watching these streams in,
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the gameplay was just solid.
At the same time, some of the most viral moments for StarCraft 2, some of the best moments for StarCraft 2 in general, were the GOM player GSL, where that quality was vastly worse, but still biggest esport, biggest tournament at the time.
480p was free. 720 and above was not.
It wasn't even 720. It was like 240 was free and like 360 was like for $5. Like it was still pretty shitty, but I still paid for it. I was like
360 was. I think 360 was free, and I think they charged for 424. Maybe I don't know.
I paid for it to be a little less shitty back in the day on my GOM player.
I mean, the HD quality did get better over the years.
Eventually.
Let's be real, the first like year or two. I mean, I worked for the company, but like.
It was pretty bad. It was pretty bad.
Like those were like the fun times where you'd see like screenshots of like someone would be like, "Oh my god, did you see his micro?" Or like, "Look at this Terran bio," and like it'd be on Reddit, and you're just like, if you didn't follow this, you'd be like,
what
did you take this screenshot of? Like did you take a screenshot and smear something?
I remember actually, like, I had an opportunity because I kind of had connections with GOM, so I was able to like talk to them. He's like, "Hey, I do live report threads on Team Liquid. Can I get a free pass for some HD streams?" And I'm like, "Yeah, man, that's awesome." So I actually did enjoy some free HD streams for a bit there. But then they got new management, and then they completely forgot about me.
Rip.
And couldn't give me anything, so I only enjoyed it for like 2, maybe 3 seasons. But after that,
I paid for it most of the time back before I moved out here. But I was like a broke college student, right? I was just trying to make it, a starving artist, starving caster, and eventually, Epix opened the team that I was working with. Like the manager was actually quite wealthy, gave me and some of my friends free accounts, and then. Nice. It was actually after I paid for it a few times, but then I had the free account for a while. And after I moved to Korea, when I got paid, I just subbed, even though I was like literally just watching in the studio because I was like, gotta support the scene,
Gotta support the scene.
It felt good to actually finally pay the money, because I know that everyone, like, even back then, were so frustrated that GOM would charge. And then when it came out on Twitch, it was like paywalled or high quality for a while. People were really upset, but it's like, I mean, the quality of content you're getting is like the same cost of like buying a beer with your friends, but it's like hours and hours of content. So I'm like, I don't know, I think you should do it.
yeah. Some people just can't afford it though.
Yeah,
sure.
I mean, I remember like it wasn't even that expensive. Was it $5 or $10 a month?
For the Twitch stuff,
no, for the old GOM Pass, for the old HD
I think
Pass.
That was like 15 or 20 actually.
Oh, maybe it was
pretty expensive.
Well, because I remember I split it with like 3 friends. I remember like we're like, let's just go on this together, because we would always watch it together. So like, but yeah, it was like ridiculous. Like, oh my god, we're so broke. We gotta like split this 3 ways just to watch it. But it was, those were the days. It was so fun to watch.
I mean, you think of like a 15-year-old kid sitting in his home. Who's he gonna split with?
He was shit out of luck. He had to watch the shitty quality and pray.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Well, I mean, I think we're in a different place now in terms of esports model, because now everything is like super high def for free.
Yeah.
So back then, I just feel like as well, sponsorship wasn't done very well. They sponsored esports now, are so much better. I remember esports events. I'm not gonna name any company names, but like that are still around today that like would tell me like, no, we can't do this or that because people have ad block on. I'm like, what if you just put the ads in the stream, like, and you had them rotate like a GIF, and they're like, oh, like that was like that idea back then was like so novel. Like, what do we do? I press / commercial on Twitch, and like, but they all have ad blocks, so we got a lot of viewers, but it's no money. I'm like, well, you just get a sponsor and then show it to people, and they can't like like, what are they gonna do? Like, ad block, like, not look at that part of the screen or something, you know? We've gotten to the point where like ads are done a lot better, sponsorships done way better in terms of esports. You know, like if you look at a baseball field, right, the whole entire like edge of the field is like filled with ads, right? And so you're kind of just like seeing it subtly on the side. But Twitch now is like, you just put the ad in the stream, you know, it's just a little GIF, it rotates, and boom, there you go. Like that was a novel concept, I feel, for a long time. I remember MLG also was like, there's like a little bit less subtle, the rotating background monitors, you know, for the behind the casters. It took a while for people to figure that out, but like finally it's like, okay, well, you got good views, and tell a sponsor, and then just put the logo like rotating on this thing, and then boom, you're set.
Yeah. No, I think I want to say at the MLJ, I remember the Dr. Pepper thing that would just like slowly rotate like on the stream, just like just back and forth. No, I totally remember that.
And it worked. You had to go get a Dr. Pepper after the stream went on break.
Yeah. Love a good Dr. Pepper. so speaking of like of casting hype games here, I'm going off of our Reddit thread now. One person wanted to know, what was your favorite moment as a caster? So of everything that you've casted, what was your favorite moment?
God, that's really hard to say. Like, I feel like, honestly, this is gonna sound weird, but I rewatch my VODs a lot of like my favorite moments, and I rewatch esports all the time. Like, you know, I'm the guy at like 4 a.m. is like a little bit tipsy, and I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna go watch like season 4 like of the GSL finals. But I think about recently, the one I've been rewatching a lot and thinking about a lot was the NEEB finals versus Trap for the Kespa Cup. But like, I think my most happy and hype moment of all time for esports, all games included, was definitely the Pro League 2014 finals. We had the TriCast with me, Moonglade, and Brendan, which wasn't even that practiced at the time.
Team Salmon.
And yeah, and like, there was so much hype that day. That was like the day where like not a seat was empty in the Pro League crowd, and the sun was setting, and it was the Telecom War final, and everyone was saying like, no, I think KT's gonna do it, but like everyone who was like actually smart was like, no. But like all the fans were like, no, I think this is their time. And I said it all on the broadcast. And it was like, there's just this atmosphere of like, everyone's like, I think KT could upset today, even though it was like, at the time, when you look at the stats and stuff, like pretty unreasonable to expect that was going to happen. Yeah, they had some really cool builds and stuff, like TY actually killing Classics Nexus first to win the whole thing. Just that moment, actually specifically, was so amazing. The ceremonies we saw just felt like Pro League of old. You know, it didn't feel like the weird hybrid league that we had, or the 2013 Pro League finals. It was like 2014 Pro League was just really, really everything that I always wanted in a team league. Like, I cast GSTL for many, many years, and I felt like this is the culmination of even offline finals, which GSTL very rarely did. There was Vegas, which is another one of my favorite casting moments, but it was like, I have a ton of Korean fans. The crowd is like so packed. Every time anything happens, like the ground is like shaking and everyone's clapping and banging their thunder sticks together. Yeah. And I thought, like, for how little we'd worked together as a tri-cast, like I thought myself, you know, Moonglade and Brendan, we like brought the hype. We also were casting with basically like not any sound in our headsets or anything, and we couldn't barely hear each other. That's why if you go back and watch a vlog, we're all just yelling nonstop, myself especially. So I just want to make sure they could hear me. So I'm just like yelling into this hand mic, and we're just like out there in the middle of the crowd. It was super sick, and I'll never forget like how I felt like leading into that cast, how nervous I was, and how I was like, this is so important. And how many people, I remember part of the cast, we had this downtime, like a pause or something, and I said like, yo, tweet at me if you're like a community person, like I'll like talk about you on the cast, because a lot of people have like opinions and stuff. And we had so many tweets, and it felt like, even though StarCraft 2 was definitely on the decline at that time, I felt like, wow, we had like almost 50K viewers on the finals. I think it's like, wow, there's so many people invested in this one moment, because it's a tournament that's lasted all year long. Yeah. And it all comes down to this one moment, and that was really cool to me. And even though the rest of the Pro League finals just never lived up to that for me, but the 2014 one, that one was the best.
No, that was amazing, you know, and like you said, just to be there and like to feel the energy of everyone there, and you know, you're all there because you love something. It's like, that's just like an amazing feeling, you know. It's like going to a LAN, but on crack, right? So it's because you can't even like, because I'll probably never experience that, but like on a much smaller level, I know exactly what you mean. You know.
Yeah, I mean, we were like basically on an island too, not an island, but like we're on this part of like this piece of stage that was pushed away from the rest of the edge. Like we're basically kind of like in the middle of the river. Like it's hard to explain. You can go look pictures up of it and stuff, but like we're on this like island kind of thing. So like we're like kind of surrounded by water out there, and that's why you see like when you go back and watch the VODs, there's like the trophies there. There's a bunch of like water, and Flash like kicks a soccer ball out and stuff. I think it actually like ends up landing in the water, but yeah, it was like the culmination of work that I put in so much work and so much time to learn all those players, and also Brendan Valdez, as his his caster name is called. When Pro League when 2014 was announced, I was told that like, we need you to cast this, and we're replacing our old casters. I want you to find someone. And Tastos was too busy with GSL and Code S, and they actually started doing some Code A that season. And I knew this guy who watched a lot of esports with me, and I was like, "Can you do this?" Like, he was one of my close friends. I was like, "Can you do this?" And he's like, "Oh, I used to be really high masters. I know the game. I know the units. I haven't watched the pro scene in a few years." And I'm like, "Well, that's okay, because almost nobody knows these Castro players in terms of like StarCraft 2 fans. So like, you want to go on this journey with me?" And I like took this huge risk to just ask this guy who never really had that much casting experience. He had only casting LCK. I think he was an LCK caster for the first season. And by the end of the season, I was like, we are making this work. Moonglade finally came out because he was the other caster like I really wanted to bring over. So me, Moonglade, and Valdez. And by the end of the season, I was like, we had a great finals cast. Like, that was really good. And that was like something I felt like we could all feel really proud of, was that grand finals.
Yeah.
So
no, super hype. It's just amazing. Was that the culmination of Team Salmon at that point?
Definitely so. I don't even remember how that started. I remember someone said Moonglade made some joke about it in the makeup room, and we just rolled with it because they always had us wear those pink shirts all the way to the finals. We were pink shirts in the finals, and it was glorious.
Team Salmon. We're gonna have to get Valdez on here too at some point and have him talk about some of his experiences. Get another piece of Team Salmon to come on.
Sure.
So as a follow up here, this person also wants to know. So you do a lot of casting, obviously, because you do Heroes, you do Overwatch, you do Brood War, and you do StarCraft 2. So when you do have free time, what are some things that you like to do?
Like go to the bank and pay my bills. Like,
casual things.
Right now, I'm basically
on your free time.
Yeah, I mean, right now I'm basically super busy. Like,
right.
So I just want to like highlight this for the StarCraft community so I cast 4 games. So imagine I cast SSL Premier and the SSL Classic, which I'll be casting in 6 hours time. So those are the two SSL tournaments do at SPO TV. And at OGN, I cast 3 days of Heroes a week, and those are really long days. They usually end at like midnight, but those are like 5-6 hour days. So 3 of those, and then on Tuesday I cast Apex for Overwatch. So the only day I have off a week right now with the schedule is Wednesday. And the reason why all this happened actually is because of just like this frantic scheduling stuff. So I agreed to do all these tournaments because I was originally told they weren't really going to overlap with each other. I knew that the casting days would, but I thought they were like 1 or 2 weeks, so maybe I have like a crazy casting schedule. But as it turns out, for the most part, because of schedules changing and moving around, since I agreed to do these tournaments, then I'm in at casting 6 days a week. But normally, when I don't have this crazy schedule, I play like a lot of single player games. I would say like I spend a lot of my time not working, like watching VODs and doing VOD reviews and stuff. But I guess that's technically work, right? So outside of like my preparation and stuff, I just got a PS4. Like, I've never had like really a PlayStation console before, so I'm experiencing that. I got a Switch, and that is sick. I love the Switch so much. I've played a lot of Zelda over the past few months. I go out with all the other casters. Like, all the casters out here are really tight with each other, including the OGN casters that don't cast StarCraft at all. So it's not crazy for there to be a night where there's no esports going on, or the only one esport that's happening ends really early. Like maybe it's 2-3-0s in Apex.
Sure.
And I text everybody, and it's not highly unusual for the night where it's like me, Tasteless, Valdez, and like Papa Smithy from OGN.
Yeah.
Over there. It's like we're all just hanging out because we all live kind of nearby, and we just shoot the shit about esports and talk about the casting and the Sphere. Like it's one of those esports nights where like our conversations are not too different than the one we're having right now. We're all just at a bar, just chilling, being like, remember like season 2 of GSL, or remember when we had the this nostalgia talk, or talking about the future. And so I hang out with those guys a lot, and I do tweet about food and stuff in Korean a lot, so there's that too.
Yeah.
Like on a day off, I'll be able to finally like go eat proper food, and I'll take a picture of it probably and post it on the internet.
Perfect. So I mean, you do. I mean, it's nice that you're able to at least take the break. I mean, from what it sounds like, like you said, you're super busy right now, but it's always good to have a little bit of the downtime. You gotta have that me time. As far as your PS4, a game I'd recommend is Persona 5. I don't know if you're playing that.
So when I got it, I planned on playing Horizon, actually Zero Dawn. That was the game I really wanted to play first, and so I downloaded that, and then I found out like the day I got my PS4, the Kingdom Hearts Remastered came out. So I was like, ooh, like I've always wanted to play that game. I never played it before. So I actually started playing that first, and now I kind of switched between the two. So I'm like, I want to play Persona 5, but like I'm kind of doing 2 other games at the same time with my crazy schedule now. So I'm like, once it all settles down, once I beat those games, I'm definitely gonna get Persona, because it seems like everyone loves it. One of my favorite writers, actually, Theon. I know he used to do StarCraft stuff. Anyone remembers that guy? He always tweets about it like a madman. So I gotta check it out.
Theon?
Yeah, Theon on Fire.
Oh yeah. He
now he writes for ESPN. But
he used to. Yep, I remember.
I got into
stick with Kingdom Hearts. It's the greatest game ever. Aside from
I'm enjoying it. I'm really enjoying it. Like
stick with Kingdom Hearts.
I'm definitely like pretty far in, like 20 hours in or so. So
number one.
One, yeah.
Okay, all right.
I've never actually played Persona 5, but this weekend I had made dinner and I was looking for a stream to watch, and I was watching Nate play it, and Nathaniel just happened to be playing, and I was like, all right, what is this crap? And I sat down, and I remember like after like an hour, I had already finished eating. I was just like, why am I into this? Like, it's not even like, it's like a graphic. It's like one of those like visual novel kind of things. It's just like, but it's just good. Like, I don't know. Like, I bet it. I bit in, and it got me. I was like, oh man, there's actually enough going on here that I'm super interested in. Like, I actually can't wait to watch him play it more. I'm like, I actually might just get this. Like, it's one of those things. But yeah, you'll have to check that one out. So you talked about posting the food and stuff. So what are our next questions here? So what is your favorite type of ramen or brand of ramen?
Well, that's a tough question. Like I like a lot of different brands, but Product Pokemon, which is the really spicy one, is my favorite to eat right now. But there's so many variations of it actually. They just released one. I think it's called like Clur Product Pokemon. I don't know if it's out officially or not, but they sent it to me, and I've been eating that a little bit. And I don't know, it's spicy, but it tastes good. And I did a sponsored tweet recently. One of the tweets I did, if you look at where I'm like eating noodles, and like there's like I'm at my computer desk, and like StarCraft 1's open and stuff. I did this tweet, it was sponsored, but they sent me this, and they wanted me to make this tweet right. And I was like, whatever, sure, I'll try it. And I ate it actually right after I made the tweet, because I was really just like me getting ready to eat and stuff. And when I actually ate it, I was like, this is amazing. It's it's basically like yukgaejang, but it's instant noodles. I don't know if anyone even knows what that means. I know Secret does, but like it's really, really good. So it's called paggaejang. When that comes out in Korea, if anyone's here, you should definitely try it. But I definitely have to go with Product Pokemon. In terms of just ramen, like Shin Ramen is the way to go. Like it's just always has been. Like everyone I knew growing up was like, Shin Ramen is the best, you should eat it. I was like, all right. And then eventually I tried it when I was a kid, and it was good. It was a little bit spicy for me back then, but now it's pretty normal. Yeah. So if you just want to try like straight up Korean ramen and you don't want to eat the spicy one, because I recommend not trying that spicy ramen if you've never had Korean ramen. Because you've been eating like the ramen from Kroger or whatever, the one that you ate when you were a kid. Like, that is not, alright, that is not, like, the way that ramen normally is. And if you eat Shin ramen, it'll probably be pretty spicy for you, so don't dive into the super spicy one. Start with a Shin ramen. If you go to, like, your Korean mart that's near your house, like, try that one first.
Build up to it, guys. Build up to it. Don't dive head first.
Have you tried the new Puldak Bokumen, the 2 times spicy one?
Yeah, the hack one, yeah.
Yeah, he did the video for that one.
Yeah, it's I did a video with it, and it's actually not as spicy as I thought. Like, I would definitely not say it's like twice as spicy.
Maybe 1.5 spice.
I would really even say like maybe like 1 times 1.125 times spicier. Like, maybe it's just because I'm so used to it, but it is really spicy, and I did have to have water afterwards, and I wasn't like the cool guy. I was like, it's not that spicy. Like, I was like, oh, okay, this is kind of intense.
Yeah.
I felt that maybe it's just because I've been eating it so much recently, I'm used to it. But I found that it was definitely spicier, but it also didn't burn like my lips afterwards as much. Maybe they just improved on the recipe or whatever. But like afterwards, I was like, usually like, oh, it's not really that spicy in my tongue, but my lips hurt. So.
Nice.
Anyway, that's the ramen story.
Delicious. Better than that American cheese ramen. I won't.
Yeah, way better than that.
We don't try that. Oh man. Okay. Do casters have their own idols that they strive to replicate? If so, Wolf, who's your go-to inspiration for the casting world?
I would say a lot of people do look up to casters, but I think a lot of people that are professional casters now, like years later, don't really look up to people, but they draw influence from. Like when I first came out here, I actually drew a lot of my influence from Artosis, right? Like I was like, well, he's an analytical commentator. I at the time was mostly an analytical commentator. It was like really terrible hype. It's like very much the opposite now. But back then I was, playing the game a ton because that's all I did. I like basically did my schoolwork and played StarCraft and watched it and cast it when I could. So I was like casting from my bedroom, and I felt like Artosis' knowledge of like in-depth knowledge of builds and stuff was something that I also knew, and I wanted to be able to. I was like, well, I know what he knows, but I'm terrible at saying it as well as he is. And even Artosis is a way better commentator now than he was in like 2010. Sure. But I just remember looking at him being like, damn, I want to be that guy. And when I came out here, actually, it was like the running joke of the community eventually, and I think In Control actually was the first person to say this, was call me like mini Artosis. If you like, probably if you like Google Wolf mini Artosis, there's probably like a picture of like Artosis is like Dr. Evil and I'm like mini me. Like
I think I've seen that.
Like, yeah. So that was like the running joke in a while for the community, but I've like since changed my focus quite a bit, and I'm not an analytical StarCraft commentator anymore. Right now, I feel like the commentators I draw the most influence from are definitely Monte Cristo, Thorin, and Papa Smithy, and most people watching this broadcast might not even know who like 2 of those are. Everyone knows Monte Cristo, but like Thorin's like mostly a CS:GO commentator, and Papa Smithy's a LCK commentator, now an Overwatch commentator, commentate together. And for Thorin, Thorin and Papa, but Thorin specifically is very much history-based. Like, he'll reference a lot of history, and he can, on the fly, pull ideas up and reference like certain specific time periods, which is one thing I really like to do in my commentary, but I think the way he does it is really good. And I always feel like we're kind of trying to do the same thing. And I want to, I want to improve on how I tell that story. So he's someone I look to for that. Papa Smithy and I feel like when we commentate different games, but like I feel like if I were commentating League and I was an analytical caster, I'd cast exactly like he does, because he always talks about the recent story and the storyline. Like every tournament is like a book, almost like a novel, and like writing like the beginning, the middle, and the end, and the climax is always the finals. So I think he and I are really similar in that style. Obviously, you guys watch my casting. I'm very much storyline based and talk about players' backgrounds and things like that. So those are the casters I cast most similarly to right now, and I think the ones that when I feel like I have an idea and I want to push like a storyline or a narrative, as Papa Smithy would call it, I'll ask him about, like, do you think this is strong here? Like, do you think this is like a good story to push? And I'll like watch how they deal with like the LCK finals, for example, and like that'll influence how I might cast the SSL finals or the Pro League finals. So I'd say like every caster definitely watches all the other casters, and it's actually hard as a caster once you become a caster that's really casting regularly, and you're like, it's kind of like your day job almost feels like, to just show up and cast. Once you get to that point of like, I have so much experience, it's hard to watch a tournament in an esport that you cast and actually care about the games and not like just like think about the casting the entire time. Sometimes
right.
like you start watching and you're like, well, I don't know if I would have said it like that, especially if you're hanging out with other casters and then suddenly you're in the room, people just being like making jokes about like what someone's saying or whatever, but or being like, oh, I really like how you said that. But I mean, that's just kind of the brain of us because we're professionals, so listen to the cast a lot, listen really closely.
Yeah,
pretty much anything we watch.
Sure. And just going off of that too, so I mean, obviously, like you said, you cast, just a lot of different stuff. What is your favorite thing to cast right now between all the games that you're doing? Like, what do you find to be the most enjoyable right now?
That's actually a really tough question. I feel like in terms of comfort, I enjoy casting SSL Premier the most because I'm casting with Valdez, right, who I've worked with for many years now, and I feel like it's really low pressure. Because it's just like the same players every week, and it's a round robin system. It kind of feels like this weird version of like 1v1 Pro League or something, because you have this round robin system where every point matters, and you get into playoffs, and some teams get relegated, etc. So it's a cool system like that. And I know all the players really well, and like as it turns out, the stories that we were pushing forward like all came true. Like, Zest, is he gonna fail? Because it looks like he's gonna fail.
Right. And
despite like even on day 2 and day 3 we were casting, we were like, he looks really weak right now, and I was like, no, you guys are wrong, I can't believe. And as it turns out, now like he's really in bad form right now. That ended up being a storyline we followed. SOS as well, and then Solar is like rising up, innovation, the god. Like, really enjoy the SSL Premier. That's just in terms of like comfort, like for me, because I know StarCraft. I mean, I've been casting it for so long, right. And I watched the GSL. I love watching the GSL, so like it's kind of a natural thing for me. I watch GSL VODs, so I'm kind of up to date on everything that's happening that way. But in terms of like something new and fresh and hype, it's definitely casting Apex. The crowd for Overwatch, I mean, it's so huge. Like every day sells out basically, and you've got, it's mostly female fans.
So that's where all the ladies are hanging out.
Like literally every time a Genji pops a Dragon Blade and gets like even only 2 kills, like the entire crowd is screaming, and you can hear it on the stream too. But whenever I'm casting with, like, you can't not be hyped to be already hyped about Dragon Blade killing 2 people. But when the entire crowd is screaming and going crazy whenever something big happens, it feels like Pro Leagueable. It feels like those days where the studio was packed on both floors, and
yeah.
And when Flash was announced as the ace player, like everyone went nuts. So there's also a lot of like roster depth right now in Apex, so they're adding more and more players to the team. So it's a 6v6 game, but like some teams have 8-9 players, so they can actually sub players in.
Right, rotate.
And there's timeouts. Yeah, and now timeouts have been added. So like they call it tactical pause, but it's basically like a traditional sports timeout where you get like 3 minute of time between a set where the coach comes in and he's got his clipboard, he's talking about like what map they should pick and what composition they should use, and it feels really upped and professional. It feels like very much sports like in that way. And Overwatch, I think it's hard to watch for a lot of people right now. I know a lot of people say that about Overwatch, but if you watch, it was hard for me when I got ready to cast it. I was like, ooh, this is going to be really hard. And it is the hardest game to cast, but when you watch it as an esport, like it's kind of hard to watch a few times, but once you kind of get used to it, the flow of it becomes really easy to watch. And I recommend checking it out because it's a really cool new esport. It's going to be big for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
It already is.
Definitely. But obviously we can't leave out heroes. You said Genji, which is like one of the newest heroes to be introduced, and we did get one heroes related question. So I reached out to the heroes community to see if anyone had any questions for Wolf. There was one, and they wanted to know kind of like what was going on, because basically Genji had just become available in Korea, and he had been picked every single game. So Wolf, was that more just because he was available and they're like, it doesn't matter, these games don't matter, or were they trying to figure out maybe like a Genji meta?
I think that the reason why Genji was so heavily picked was because the games didn't matter, at least for that week specifically, to answer his question, because literally none of the games mattered at all, with the exception of Tempest actually losing their series, which we talked about on the cast, is like, well, they win this no matter what. Like, the team that beat Tempest in the final match had never beaten anyone before. Like, they had literally only won 2 maps the entire tournament. So, like, we were saying, like, the games didn't matter. It would have mattered if Tempest had lost to Raven, but we just assumed, you know, going into the series, like,
right.
That's just not going to happen, right? It's like, well, you know, KT Roaster's not going to lose to Prime, kind of thing, to put it in, like, StarCraft Pro League perspective. It's like, well, KT, if they lose to Prime, they're not going to make playoffs. That's just probably not going to happen, but it was, like, the one, especially on a day that doesn't matter for Prime, right? So Raven actually showed up and played, like, some of the best games of their careers, and Tempest was, like, experimenting and actually kind of trolling a little bit, as far as I personally would say. Like, I could say it on this talk show and say it on stream, but, you know, back and watch the VODs and, like, they role swapped and stuff. I felt like they were just trying to mess around a little bit, but because they lost the series, they actually have to play an extra round of playoffs, which is kind of silly, but some of the matches that we cast that day, like, were just not serious in any way, shape, or form. Like, we were having support players play Assassin and having Assassins play supports, and I think the idea there was to, in a match that's pretty important and serious, learn how to play Kenzi and learn how to use him in a composition, because he had just, you know, been released, and
right.
Playing on scrims or playing on the ladder is one thing, but playing in a professional setting, that's another. I think the best way to determine whether Genji will be completely viable or used is to watch playoffs on Friday, Saturday, Sunday. That's when the Genji meta, if it's going to be a top tier thing, if it's going to be constantly first pick, will actually show itself in its full form.
I think that one of the other interesting things is, I can't remember which team did it, but they did the Genji with the Abathur, so they're running like a double Genji basically. So, and again, more trolling, but I want to say that team like crushed too, and it was like, oh wait, that actually kind of worked. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, so, I mean, that's something you could do. The one that was most exciting to me was the Lily Uther combo. It was like double support. That was pretty interesting because there was a lot of like blinds, a lot of CC. It was pretty fun to watch. I definitely recommend watching that game.
Yeah.
If you guys missed it.
All right, going back into StarCraft 2, since that was our only heroes question, but we at least got it in there. I wanted to give them an opportunity since Wolf is knowledgeable on multiple games.
We'll be better about branching out and getting more people in the future.
So going back into StarCraft 2, are you still actively playing Legacy of the Void?
Not really, but I will actually occasionally, like, after watching a really hype pro match, like, kind of go binge play like 10 games.
Right.
In the beginning of Legacy of the Void, when it first came out, I was playing a lot, and I was actually playing mostly Terran, and just trying to learn, you know, the intricacies of the race, and I thought Cyclones were really cool, and I was like, I want to play this, I want to mess around with this. And then, obviously, once I got more comfortable with the game, I didn't play as much anymore, once I knew all the unit interactions and things like that. But I recently, maybe, like, I'd have to go look at my profile. I played Terran, because now, like, we have separate MMRs, right? So, like, I played Terran, and I, like, hit diamond players and was like crushing them, and I was like, is the level of play gone down this much? Like, I don't know, like, maybe the Korean ladder is just not as good until you get to like GM, but like I played a few games, I like hit diamond players and beat them with Terran, which is my off race, so I was like, I guess I still got it, or like diamond doesn't mean the same thing that it meant when I moved here. So, I don't know, but I occasionally I'll just be like, you know what, I want to try that build. Like, you know, what was his name? I can't remember the player who did this, but the guy who did the Blink DT
Nightmare
rush and, like, won the GSL. Nightmare, yeah. When I watched Nightmare do the Blink DT rush, I'm like, you know what? I literally have to alt-tab and open up StarCraft right now and play that.
Yeah.
So
you and Dan both.
Yeah, but overall, like, I just don't play that much because I don't have enough time to play, and, like, when people ask me, like, well, people always say, everybody only plays Overwatch. I'm like, well, I just don't play that much Overwatch either. I go in Overwatch and test stuff. I'll go in a custom game with some of the other casters or some pro gamers and be like, wait, can you hit from this angle with Soldier, or, like, kind of actually knock that guy off that wall, stuff like that, like sandbox kind of stuff.
Sure.
Because that's way more important than playing the game. It's obviously important to know all sorts of interactions in a game, like what interrupts what in heroes, like, can you actually interrupt a void with this, or can void prison actually stop that? Like, which one gets priority? Or in StarCraft, like, how many Baileys does it take to kill an Archon? You know, stuff like that. But otherwise, like, if you're playing, like, even at like Diamond or Masters level, any region, NA, EU, SEA, China, no matter what region you're playing in, even if you're Diamond Masters, you're just not actually learning anything about what the pros are doing, because the level of play is too low and the builds are not the same, and you actually might even teach yourself incorrect assumptions about like how people play the game. It's much better, it's much more important to watch the tournament, watch the VODs, study the VODs. So that's what I focus on, and I think that's much more valuable, much more important. As long as you take the time to do it and make sure that when you watch the VODs, like I like to watch the VODs on mute, especially if I've seen the cast already, because that way I can focus on like what I'm thinking about, what's happening in the game,
not hearing what they're saying.
Yeah. Or sometimes I'll watch, like I do this for Overwatch a lot, I watch the Korean VODs, because I'm like, well, let me hear a different perspective, like on a game I already cast, from like Korean commentators, like what did they say? So I know like a lot of people will always call me out for not really playing the game that much, but I think that if you ask casters in other scenes, the only scene I know, like literally the only scene I know where casters will be proud of their rank and talk about it and talk about how much they play as StarCraft. And outside of every other scene, like, you ask the top commentators, they'll just be like, why I'd be a bad commentator if I spent that much time playing. Or I'd probably be trying to be a pro gamer, And I understand the StarCraft community's history with this, because we have most StarCraft commentators are ex-pro gamers. I mean, even people forget about this, but Tasis and Artosis, they're ex-pro gamers, right? So, you have like Todd, Rotterdam. I mean, Nathanius was not an ex-pro, but like, he's top ranked on the ladder for quite some time. And we've even had, guest players or guest casters or casters during certain periods of time, like In Control, ex-pro gamer, TLO. So StarCraft is very much ex-pro gamer caster sphere. So when someone like myself, who was like on a roster in the GSTL, but I would not call myself an ex-pro, is saying I don't play the game that much, I understand like the anger and hatred there, and like, well, I play more than he does, I could beat him on a 1v1. But you probably could, but I'm not 100% sure about that, but you might be able to. But I think watching VODs is like just 1,000 times more useful. Like watching Maru do a build, or Innovation do like a really crisp, double medevac drop, and watching it like 3 times can tell me 1,000 things more than me trying to do that build against like a diamond player on the ladder and like messing it up. Or, it's like if I could just see it done by a person who has done that thousands of times on the ladder and see exactly how it's done right in front of me and pause and rewind, I think that's like way, way, way more valuable than to just queue up and hope for the best on the ladder. So.
No, absolutely, and you're right. That was like the one negative thing, from the Reddit thread that people wanted to bring up was, the fact that you're not playing the game. You're busy, commentating other stuff and keeping up with everything else. So I kind of get it too. From that standpoint, you're obviously still doing your research, but it's also like I've got to make time for other things, right? So you can only do so much. But the biggest thing really, and it wasn't so much like, because for the most part, I would say 90% of the people actually really enjoy your commentary. But what people get hung up on is the misscalls. And that's like the reoccurring thing that I saw in that thread that people kept wanting to bring up was he makes a lot of misscalls. You miscall this and you miscall that. Well,
I think it's more of a factor of, for the misscalls, like I have miscalled things, and I know that I saw it. I actually didn't see it until like days later, but I did see the thread about the Dark versus Maru game.
Yeah.
And that is like one of the most embarrassing things I've ever had in my entire like casting career, is actually just like basically calling the game over. Because I was under the impression that I have an observing PC, and also that same day, like my monitor was going out a lot. I'm not trying to give excuses, but like that was like one of the
you're dealing with things.
Like Brendan had full vision of everything that was happening, but my monitor was cutting out. I was like looking on his monitor, but I was under the impression that it was going to be like a rallied follow-up push, and that Maru was just going to end the game. He did end up ending the game, and he was massively ahead, but that was not a moment where I should have just like, all right, that's it, we're going to game 3. And a lot of people were really upset about it because it was a really hyped series, and I totally understand the frustration. I really screwed up that moment. I'm pretty embarrassed about it. But yeah, like a lot of the stuff more than misscalls, I think, something I've done is call things too early, and it's because the reason why this happened to me, and I think I talked about this on another talk show recently, is because a lot of the other communities I cast with are always just like, well, he always tries to like make it seem like it's really close, but it's not. And I think like that sort of mentality has pushed me into like trying to like call things in StarCraft, because I'm like, well, I don't want to fake this. And a lot of people are like, I think he's faking. And a lot of people have criticized my commentary to be fake hype, but like everyone gets criticized for that always, right?
Right.
But yeah, I definitely have called things too early. I'm not saying I do that every time or anything like that, but I definitely have called things too early, and I understand people are, reasonably upset about the Maru Dark game. Like, it was a pretty big miscall. I mean, not a miscall. I mean, he did win the game, and he was massively ahead for the majority of the rest part of it. But like, to say the game was over at that moment was not true. And I want to shout out these guys because I know them. Okay, that's why I wore my hater shirt today. It's because I know that every time I read a comment on Reddit, or someone is saying that I don't know anything and that I'm really terrible, I can always get halfway through reading it and I scroll up and be like, it's that guy I have tagged as Noodle Brain. It's Air at Night, or it's implying SC2. These guys every time, and like I always upvote your comments actually, and I do always read them, but it's like there's people on Reddit that just hound you. And I've talked to other commentators about this out here, like even the League of Legends commentators, like, yeah, those guys always hate on me. And they'll say something that's like really true, but like taken out of context, and they always get upvoted. There's just people like that, right? So I see what you guys say, and I know that like sometimes you get angry about some of the stuff that I've said about players you like, and I know that these people I just called their IDs out. I know they watch literally everything, and that's actually really cool because you're like some of the most passionate people in the community. But I think that a lot of the people that have disappeared from the StarCraft community have gone because just the harsh treatment that the StarCraft community has given to personalities in the past, even pro gamers, not just casters. The harsh treatment that StarCraft community has shown to tournament organizers, broadcast partners, and if you're just trying your best and you're working really hard and somebody's always ragging on you, the same guy especially, it's like it can get really frustrating. And I will express my frustration towards this because I spent a lot of time, I've commentated the game for several years, and I spent a lot of time dealing with these types of people, and I've seen other commentators deal with it, and I've dealt with the even more hateful, angry comments sent to me on a DM and had reasonable conversations with people. I think that like that's the better way to tell someone that you're frustrated with their commentary, instead of like trying to get upvote points on the internet and like be like, he made a mistake. So I think that like I'm just trying to say, and I know that the community can be really, really touchy at times. I'm just trying to say I would prefer, I think most people would, that you DM certain points that you have about my commentary or someone else's commentary to me, because I know that like there's the running joke that like Wolf doesn't know anything and et cetera, but like that's the kind of thing that will like drag a commentator down and make them feel like, well, maybe there shouldn't be any English commentary for SSL, and maybe someone else could come out and do it right. I'm not saying I feel that way, but because like I actually am doing this despite everything else that's going on. I love casting StarCraft. It means a lot to me, and it's like this weird, like somber, like awkward moment where I like actually like call the haters out for calling me out, but like
break down and.
I'm just saying like don't. There's just no reason to spread the hate, and I would prefer like DMs and stuff.
Yeah. Sometimes
things that are posted are just not actually even accurate. So, just good to have a discussion about this. And I'm bringing this up specifically because I saw the Reddit thread was like filled with like a lot of those two posters I just called out, talking about like how does he not know anything? I'm like I literally watched everything too. Like otherwise I wouldn't be a professional. I wouldn't have a job.
They feel honored that you know them. They feel honored.
Well, the thing for you, and I get it, and and the thing other people have to realize is, regardless of who you are, what you commentate, sometimes you're just going to be wrong. right? Like sometimes weird things just happen. Doesn't matter if you're a commentator for the NFL. Doesn't matter if you're a commentator for StarCraft. Like sometimes weird shit just happens, and you're not going to get it right no matter what. And people need to realize that shit happens. And the other thing I would cut you a break on too, and maybe you can enlighten us, to this a little bit, is sometimes there's been people also said you'll make misscalls when it comes to like something like that's in the meta. And you're like, well, I'm not familiar with this, when it might have just been started like coming into the meta. Well, at the same time, you're casting Brood War, you're casting Heroes, you're casting Overwatch. It's really hard for someone like you to stay constantly in, the most up to date meta. And I'm not, and then that's not a fault,
I think it's definitely. I wouldn't say it's an excuse either. Like if there's a thing I've never seen before in a match that I'm commentating. It's probably a pretty rare case because I do stay pretty up to date on everything.
Sure.
But I will usually say something like, we have never seen anything like this in this tournament, or this is like really highly unusual. And if it was coming into the meta like that week on like an online tournament, or maybe the GSL that I hadn't caught up on the VODs yet, then like I can understand why people be like, but like actually this happened. But yeah, that's when this comes into me where I'm like, oh, I didn't know. That's interesting to know. I hadn't seen that yet. But it's never going to be a moment where like, I'm like, oh, I can't believe he's making oracles. Like, why isn't he making phoenixes or something for harassment? Obviously, I know the big picture stuff. The rise of Hellions right now is something I've been studying quite a bit, because that's like, that was out of the meta kind of completely for a while. Now we're seeing a lot more Hellion harass make a return in TVZ. So just things like that where I'm like, oh, I'm starting to learn exactly how this is working, but this is still pretty new. But yeah, I mean, I don't want to use the crutch of like, oh, I cast a lot of games and they're more important than this one. Like, I just don't believe that. I actually will literally sacrifice all my free time, and all the other casters are like, you're crazy. I'm like, well, just the circumstance happened, and I'm not going to let anyone down and just not commentate the tournament, force them to try to find someone else. Or might be like no English commentary for a while if I just dropped out from doing the SSL. Keep in mind also, the SSL was not actually going to happen until Jin Air made it happen.
Right.
Like when it was announced by Blizzard, the WCS plan for 2017, like SSL was not part of it, and SPO didn't have a sponsor. They had just been given the rights to, I mean, not just, but had been using their newly given rights to broadcast the LCK. So they're focusing on League of Legends very heavily. And then I get a call like, I know we said it wasn't going to happen, but actually SSL is happening. Do you want to do it? And if you don't, we're probably not going to have an English cast for it. And I was like, all right, well, I'm going to start getting focused on this again. I'm going to get back into the StarCraft 2 swing of things. And because after Pro League was discontinued, and after I knew that SSL, even though it didn't come to be true, was not going to be continued, I was like, well, that might just be it for me for StarCraft 2. I didn't get invited to IEM Gyeonggi, and I was like, maybe I'll do that.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't happen, and then I was like, well, I actually had like kind of like closed the book. I was like, this is really sad. I didn't like make an official tweet about it or anything, but maybe I've cast my last StarCraft 2 tournament was actually the Kespa Cup. Like maybe casting Neeb when it was like the last StarCraft 2 cast I'll ever do, and then that's not the case. So I definitely had to like get some rust off the wheels, off the gears, to get back into commentating this.
Sure.
But yeah, it's been like a lot of fun, and I do know there are valid criticisms of some of the calls I've made in the past, and I appreciate all the feedback. So this is always something that has to be brought up, because the StarCraft subreddit doesn't really they can't really decide how they want to feel about me. It's either they love me or they hate me. And it's kind of like, I just want to kind of address the community. I read everything you guys post, like all of it, which is probably unhealthy, but there's always things I can really take away from that. And sometimes things I like immediately just press the hide button on. So
yeah,
I just want to say thanks.
No, absolutely. And the last thing I wanted to say on this topic before we're going to move on was, I think part of it is too, because like you had said earlier when we were talking about Caldo, right? Like it kind of used to be you were the analytical one, and he was more the play-by-play. So it's kind of you've kind of been making that transition into doing the more play-by-play, especially with Heroes, because there's something constantly in Overwatch, because there's constantly something happening. in that game, it's like hard to talk about like analytical stuff because it's always just like, oh, this is happening, this is happening, this is happening. So I think it's for you, it's just like getting in the mindset of like, okay, like I am the play-by-play man now. I don't need to be as analytical as I used to be. And I think sometimes, you know, when you're casting, stuff just comes out. You know, it's like, oh well, you know, maybe I should have let Brandon make that call or whomever. You know, but in that moment, you know, you just do what you think is best.
I would say that's pretty true. Like, but I usually don't feel confident to make really like hard calls in terms of like what build it's going to be or who's going to fight until it's like really clear or until it's something we've seen like over and over again.
Sure.
For example, the Archon drop Zest was doing for a while. I was like, oh, this seems like really strong. But I was like, I'm going to hold off on saying this. And then it like fell out of the meta very quickly. And like I was like, well, Zest was kind of like the one trick PvZ Archon dropper in the SSL premiere for most of the season. And then he stopped doing it. And now I don't know what his PvZ is supposed to be. But I don't think anybody else does either. If you watched his match last week. But
he's 1-9.
Charge lot Archon is not working.
Yeah, but I usually don't make a really big call in terms of like whether I think like a player should or shouldn't be doing a strategy or anything like that until like we've seen it consistently work or fail. And I usually can make that tournament focus, right? So like even though like, there's a lot of the time as well in the past where I would say like well, this style is like proven to be bad and like hasn't worked. Basically, wouldn't say it that way, but you know, like basically I don't know, like Colossus drop's like not good. Like it's like 0-15. And someone would be like, well, actually, like, if you watch that one online tournament, like, this amateur player made it work, and so you're wrong. And I'm like, well, we have to keep this in the context of, like, this tournament, right? You know, like, what region we're playing in and the level of play here versus, like, you know, like, someone would be like, well, Dream Knight Valencia, like, in the round of 16, this crazy thing happened. I'm like, yeah, I saw that too, but that's, like, totally different than what we're talking about. So,
yeah.
I always try to keep things in context of the tournament.
No, absolutely.
We kind of got off on this topic like a bit, but like, yeah. Anyway, just bottom line for me is like, thank you for the feedback because I've improved and changed a lot as a result of like the feedback I've been given over the years, and I really do appreciate it.
Sure.
But also don't be negative to community managers or community members, myself included. Toast Seeker, like, you know, give these guys.
Oh, dude, for how small we are, you would not believe all the direct DM hate that I get. It's not as much, and I know it was the same thing. It was like 3 people, you know, but it was like the Eastern European, like, go jump in a fire and kill yourself, like, just like the crazy random shit like that I would get like every time I would post something like, hey, like, oh, we're doing this week. That's a terrible guess. Your show sucks, you know, just like random like hate. It's like, oh my god. So no, I know what you mean. That's.
We're always like, hey, you know you've made it if you have haters.
That is how you know how you've made it. If you have a hater, if you have haters, you've made it. But
going off of what Wolf said about like, you know, community people, please don't hate on us. You know, there's a very, very significant difference between constructive criticism and just straight up bashing someone. Please understand the two differences, okay?
Yeah, that's basically what I'm trying to say.
Always provide constructive criticism and provide feedback, absolutely. But if you just straight up tell Wolf that you hate his guts, that's not helping him.
No. That doesn't help anyone.
People will say things like, well, he only has a job because no one else could do it. I'm like, well, that is so not true. Like, the amount of people that contact all the companies that we work for out here all the time for jobs and work and how many good commentators there are in the world, it's like, yeah, I mean, it's not actually true. Like, I actually work really hard on this, so.
No, absolutely. I
just want to like put that out there, you know, like just comments like that. I'm like, you're just misinformed, I guess, or you just want to make me feel bad. But I just hide your comment and laugh. But
well, so here's what you're gonna do. You're gonna get masters on the Korean server, and you're gonna join the next GSL qualifiers. And that will shut up.
just to show him.
Like, I don't know, pretty sure he only cheese to get in. Like, I don't know if he's really good.
Hey, if it can work for Haas.
It doesn't even matter if you make it into Codes or not. Just the fact that your name's on there in that bracket, people will be like, whoa, that's Wolf. He just went up against innovation. What's going on here? You know? And then SSL qualifiers too, right?
You're like, guys, I can't commentate today. I'm playing today. It's my turn. I'm gonna go up to my booth. Wish me luck.
I gotta have results on my Wikipedia page.
Yeah, exactly. Achievements. We'll make an achievement section for you.
Get your Ligulac rating up.
Oh yeah, it's happening.
All right.
We foresaw it on Day Shrine.
What's the next question? So toss that.
Well, we covered what we had to cover in the Reddit. That's done now. We'll get past all that negative nonsense and we'll move on. So guys, let's open it up here for the last bit. We'll go to the chat questions here. And while Seeker gets some of those, I'll read some of these donations that we got.
My Team Liquid peeps letting us down. Okay.
Always. So Blunt Reality donated $5. Hey, got this shitty laptop to join Discord. Just to what? Hey, got the shitty laptop to join Discord. Is just too much. But ask the question if possible. What does he think of the GSL nominations and mainly Maru's chances and stats right now, if possible, please?
Okay. So I saw the big shocking aftermath. I saw the classic storyline of like he got in the group of the 3 Terrans.
Yeah.
I actually have the groups open right now. So he asked about stats specifically. I actually didn't see the entire group selection yet. I haven't watched it yet because it happened like literally yesterday. But if he's asking about stats, his chances of the group with Trap, Beal, and Gumiho, I think he's got really good chances. Like the problem is that he has to face Beal, right? Like it's probably going to be a winner's match between Beal and Stats. So
yeah.
If you could somehow like prepare specific, that's always the cool thing about group stages, right? If you prepare specifically for PvZ in this case, knowing that Beal is the favorite over Gumiho, and then win that one PvZ match in the winner's match, and then you just get straight through, that would be amazing. But that's like kind of optimistic, right? So maybe he wants to make sure that he knocks Trap out in PvP. Trap's historically, his PvP has not been the best, and Gumihos has looked really strong in the SSL challenge, but I think he's got really good chance of getting out of that group. Like, I would definitely put my money on BL in first, Stats in second with this group, though.
Yeah, I agree. And what about Maru?
Maru in the Zerg group?
Yeah.
It's definitely a tough one with Sue and Dark, especially with Dark having really good ZVT. So Maru actually could drop in a losers match. So he's got to be careful about like maybe some Lucero cheese, but you don't know. Like, it could be Sue in the losers match too because it's ZVZ and crazy things happen. Sometimes you just get build or countered or die to a timing push. So that's a tough group. I think you should be able to get out of it. Like I think Maru has definitely risen quite a bit in form since last season, and also the start of SSL Premier. I thought he looked pretty weak, but I think he's really risen to form. So I'd say. Yeah, I give him like a 70% chance of getting out of the group. 70 to 75.
Okay.
With probably Dark.
Dark, yeah, I agree. Dark's looking pretty strong. Our other donation came in the form of 100 bits from Lost House, who says, "Thanks for hosting the great interview. You are welcome. Thanks for watching." Real quick before we get to chat questions. Going back into the stats group, I wanted to bring up Gumiho, and I will say that ever since he's joined Psystorm, I feel like he has been revitalized. I feel like he has been playing like some of the best games we've seen since like he got into like Code S. Like he's been playing insanely good.
It feels like it feels almost like when Bjorn was suddenly starting to really rise back up to form. You know what I mean? Like when Bjorn was like. You know, he took that several-year break before coming back teamless and made his GSL run. I don't feel like it's as dominant as what Bionet shows, but it feels like really reminiscent of that. There's like these 2 old players that have been playing since 2010, and suddenly, like 7 years later, have been reinvigorated and playing really, really well. I think that Gumio is definitely one of those players. And after watching his games in Challenge as well, I think he has the ability to do well. I don't know if he's getting out of that group, to be honest, but maybe. If he could somehow upset Biel, he definitely has a good enough TVP to beat Stats. I think that's not out of the realm of possibility. He could upset. Like he's a sleeper. Like Trap is not a sleeper. Like Trap's not getting out of that group, sadly. But Gumio is the one that could surprise people. I think. So yeah. I think Gumio has always been really good at being hyper aggressive, and and his crisis management is like really second to none. Like Gumihos has won games where he's like 40 supplies, opponents are like 130, 120, something like that. Like he's won so many games like that over his career. He's just so good at crisis management. I think he's really good right now. Would have to agree.
Yeah, I just wanted to bring that up just because like he's been one of my favorite players for just such a long time, and it was sad to kind of see him dip down into like kind of just like the lower bottom of the barrel. But then ever since then, he's just been like back on top. So just wanted to bring that up real quick. So Seeker, what do you got for us?
All right, check questions. Blind Ron wants to know. So Wolf, what about that Mong versus Shine game?
I don't even want to talk about that one. No, Shine is one of these players. Shine is a player that like people always gave him so much shit in StarCraft 2. I think a lot of that came from the fact that Artosis and I would always just be like, he's only a cheeser, once a cheeser, always a cheeser. Like I didn't know how to describe it at the time when I was first cast him in Pro League. So I made the joke, he'll six-pull your mom.
Six-pull your mom.
I mean, he would, like, if your mom was like, oh, kids are playing StarCraft, like, I want to try, like, he would be like, oh, yeah, just, like, he would, like, six-pull your, like, mom's trying to, like, learn the game and stuff, but doesn't know how to, like, mine minerals, and you just, like, show up as early and be like, ah! That was, like, always the storyline of Shrine, right? And now he's, like, GSL Observer, and making this run. He gets through. He's got a really good group, actually, going forward as well, so a good matchup there. So I feel like, I talked to Rapid about this, because Rapid actually made a really good point. He's talking about how I always wanted to see new talent, new amateur talent, and stuff like that. And in Rapid's eyes, I actually think this is a really good concept, is like, Shine's kind of like that new talent in a lot of ways, because he's got a kid, he's like, married and stuff, he's like got a real job. And he's like kind of an amateur player in that way, because he's not like living in a Kespa team house. He used to. Like, he was on Samsung, right? But now he's like come back. I mean, we're talking like he was really good like almost a decade ago. And now like years and years and years later, as things are kind of settling with ASL rising in popularity, and some of the old players are struggling, and some of the old players like Shine are like actually doing okay. It's kind of cool to see a dude who's like married and has a kid doing well.
Absolutely.
The same with Shuttle. Shuttle as well in the ASL, like so much has a family and stuff, and still finds time to like kick ass at Brood War. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, no, definitely. Seeker, find another one here. Guys, just to let you know, we did update our donation goal, so we are starting our push for DreamHack Montreal. So that's for both me and Seeker to travel there to do in-person interviews. And then before Seeker goes to Montreal, he'll actually be out in Korea visiting his father. So we're actually going to be in Korea. Well, he'll be in Korea doing some stuff there. So we haven't had a whole lot of time to plan just yet, but just know that that's coming. And then all donations right now will be going towards efforts for that content.
Wolf, let's tackle one of the boxes of the soju when I get there. All right.
All right.
Tackle the whole box.
Let's do it.
We'll do a Dave's Shrine special. We'll just call the episode "Soju with Wolf," and it'll just be amazing.
Drunk.
And Toast will show us the episode later, and I'll be like, I don't remember saying any of it.
I'll just drink whiskey with you. I'll just be there in spirit. Maybe
yeah, man, we should put you on the call. Just put you on the call, and just cheers with you on the camera.
Yeah.
We'll make it a requirement that anyone who views that stream needs to send us a picture of proof that they have alcohol.
That they're drinking with us. We'll call that one the drunk shrine episode.
We'll see like a 13-year-old kid with ramen in it, and we're like, no.
Oh, and and Twitch just banned us.
Okay. Next question is: do you still keep in touch with Moonglade, and will Team Salmon ever get back together?
Yeah, we talk to him pretty often. Definitely not as tight as we used to be, because we used to literally hang out every day. But no, I think he's working on his own personal stuff back in Australia. I don't think he's going to come back to casting anytime soon. But it's a question better asked for him. But for right now, he just doesn't seem too interested in casting StarCraft 2. But that's his own choice. And he decided to return Last year we were all really sad, but we've got Rapid now at least, so we have at least another third caster in the loop.
Yeah.
But I miss them a lot, and the original Team Salmon, you know, our philosophy, our mindset was if you want to be part of Team Salmon, all you have to do is wear the gear. So that's all you got to do. Just
show up in that salmon shirt.
Show up in that salmon shirt, man, and support it. And I know he wears pink sometimes and thinks of us.
I should have planned this a little bit better. I should have wore my pink shirt for this, and I could have been an honorary salmon for tonight.
I have a pink shirt too. Could have thrown it on.
Damn.
Yep.
Too late.
Do you play Brood War on Fish server?
Yeah, I do actually a lot. Like actually, that's the one game that I play. It's kind of like my guilty pleasure multiplayer game because it's like I said earlier. You know, when we're talking about StarCraft 2, like watching VODs is more important than playing. I play a lot of Brood War because it's just so fun to me right now. Like I'm not actually. I feel like I'm so out of shape, but it's really fun to play on the Fish server and just get wrecked by people. And it's always like literally if you go to the Fish server lobbies, by the way, like if you press join, it's like all a bunch of lobbies. They're all in creative first, but like I'll tell you what they say. They'll just say like noobs only, and it's like it'll also say like it'll say in the lobby chat like fucking noobs only, like seriously only noobs, like only garbage tier, dumpster tier. And I'm like, okay, but like they all say that, and I'm like, all right, let's try this one, and I go in there. And I play the guy, and it's like a long PvT. He's just way better than me. I even like sometimes I get ahead like with a build order advantage. Like I got DTs in this main and killed a bunch of SCVs, and I'm like, aha, yeah, this is great. And like I know I'm ahead. I've got like a small contained setup, and then the longer the game is on, Vultures are dropping in my main, and I'm like, oh, he's just way better than me. And I'll like look at the stats afterwards, and he's like 120-52. I'm like, oh, okay, like. Oh.
They just want to stop noobs and feel good about themselves, I guess.
Yeah. My worst matchup by far is PvZ. Every time I desert, I'm like, what does it matter what your rank is? Like, I don't think I'm winning this game.
Damn.
Well, I mean, you gotta get those dark archons and Maelstrom. Just make sure they can't ever move.
Yeah. That's the way, right? I don't think that's a good strat. I think I need to make sure, I need to figure out how to like make sure my observers don't die. The Zerg has so many different types of detection to kill my observers as Scourge or Hydras, and then I just like never can kill his lurkers. Like there's like 3 lurkers behind a bunch of Sunken Collies. I'm like, I give up. I don't know. I'm like maxed out, and he's got like 3 lurkers, 4 Sunken Colonies. And like a few overlords and like 1 spore just to make sure my observers can't stop. I'm just like, I give up. I even can't kill it.
That's when you do this hack, and you bring in Colossi, and the dude's like, what the hell is this?
That would be sick. If the master added that, man, Koreans would be angry. But
this isn't Brood War.
I do play a lot on the Fish server. Like I probably since 1.18 came out, and it doesn't screw up with my computer. I probably played like 50 or 60 games on Fish, on Asia as well, and some games with my friends in Asia, but like mostly I play on Fish.
I don't understand what this one is. Are people receiving presidential candidates promoting Brood War?
Oh, that was a thing like where like one of the presidential candidates had built like a custom map or something, or what was it?
Oh, that, yeah. Oh, I remember. I saw that in the.
So the guy who actually won, Moon Jae-in. So in Korea, the candidates actually have there's 15 presidential candidates, I believe, if not mistaken. Either 15 or 12, but like most of them aren't like major players. But there's like a lot of different parties, right? So he was like number 1 in the list, like just in terms of number and placement. And so on his map, like his version of Hunters that he added, like it just has like way more money than the rest of the map, like on the 1 o'clock spawn location, because he's 1. And that was like his big joke is like, 1 o'clock expansion, like never runs on minerals. I didn't actually play it, but I downloaded it. I was told that it actually just means the mineral patches themselves have more money at them. So it's like, it's not like you like mine money faster or anything. That's not like fastest map where you have more clusters. It's just like the mineral pool is bigger. So it's like not even that significant actually if you're like playing a team game on Hunters to like have your main get mined out. So it's like basically wholly irrelevant. It's like, and was talking to Rab about this. The funny thing is, like, it's kind of like, well, that's because it's good guy Moonjay, and he didn't really ruin the balance of the map. It was just like it was just a funny gesture. But yeah, he made that, and the StarCraft community actually really liked it, and he won the presidency. So
yeah,
I don't know if it was because of the StarCraft map, but like,
yeah, it was. It was.
Was it
the girl who did the? Well, I was just saying the girl who did the Overwatch campaign didn't win. So
wasn't Moonjay in the one? Wasn't he originally up against the previous?
Yeah, that's right.
President, right?
He lost. It was actually a really close election. This one was not, but the last one was really close.
I mean, of course, this one was his to lose.
Yeah, exactly. So, but he had the StarCraft map, and like it definitely factored in his victory. Yeah, I would say like
yeah.
Off the record, yeah.
Good on him. He knew his audience. It was Korea. He knew his audience.
Yeah.
Wolf, how can we? Lost Toss wants to know how can we support the GSL SSL scene from abroad? I can't fly Jin Air and I can't purchase Hot Six from Canada.
Yeah, that's always a question I get, and I think it's a really good question. For me, I would say, subscribe to any channels that have subscriber. I know the GSL right now is not like fully set up with subscribers. I think, and SSL's on YouTube, but like, do actually subscribe when you can. Buy the HD package. If it's available, like the stuff we were talking about earlier. Also, like I think the easiest and best way to support, there's two, is like watch the tournaments and watch the players stream. Like when the players are streaming, watch them, chat with them, donate to them. Like if TY is streaming on Twitch, and someone donates him $20, like that like reminds him like who he is and like that he's a pro gamer and that like all this has a meaning, you know what I mean? Sometimes I watch like pro gamers that are like so popular and so famous in the West and in Korea, and they're like they make like a round of 4, a round of 8, have like a great run. This is like top 8 player basically in the world, like undisputedly top 8 player, and they turn the stream on and like have less than 100 viewers, and I'm like, oh, you guys like are you guys not in love with this player? Like get in there and watch it, follow him on Twitch, get in there, donate some money, make some jokes in the chat, interact with these people, because that's like what a lot of people say the only reason why some of these pros still play StarCraft 2 is because the money, but like this is like their whole passion, their whole lives, their whole jobs, and like to be able to interact with the fans is always a really great thing for the players. So if that fan and you want to interact with these players, like do it, go in the chat, talk to them, and give them the respect that you have for them, show that to them, because I think it means a lot and it goes a long way. So I mean, even if there's nothing to buy in the tournament, like in Hot 6 is a sponsor and you can't buy it, and there's no subscriber button for the channel, something like that, then just watch, make sure you watch, talk about it, make content for the tournament even. Like I was talking about earlier, the glory days of StarCraft 2 where we saw like YouTube videos all the time and so many content creation. I feel like that content creation is somewhat gone now. I mean, obviously stuff like what we're doing right now here with Toast and Seeker is really awesome, and I think it's been sorely missed in the StarCraft community for a long time. But like, make a YouTube video, make some goofy highlight clip, do that. That supports the tournament. That gets to the top of the subreddit, or maybe it gets really high on like some people's r/all or their like front list, and then you're bringing like new people into StarCraft because of a funny video that you made just off of like highlights or whatever. Like that's how you support StarCraft, is to watch it, bring more people in. That's all you can do. And if you can buy something, buy it. But even if you can't, then just bring people in.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely, yeah. Wise words, great words.
And Korean players have actually told us, that since they've been able to come on the show, and we've given them an opportunity to talk with their fans and give them that channel of communication, they really appreciate that. And it's like finally, like you guys can help me express to my English speaking fans that I can't express myself to very well. That I really appreciate. Like, please, like keep watching, and I try my best to speak English, and I'm learning, but be patient with me and. Stuff like that, but it's great that they're that they enjoy it, and we're so happy to be able to, to help them, communicate with their fan base.
Yeah, we've never had a single Korean guest be like, this was a waste of time. I don't like you guys.
Well, I don't know if the culture allows them to say that, but
they're like,
yeah, I mean, I think
they among themselves, Dangshan has just a really bad reputation. We just don't know it.
I think it's kind of a byproduct of Kespa not allowing the players to stream, because I feel like in the highest era of StarCraft, even like StarCraft 1, some of these players could stream. Like, imagine if in the heyday of Brood War, if the Western scene knew about that, because most people don't. But like, imagine, you know, Flash and Jay would be able to stream after their championships and talk to the fans. Like, how cool that would have been. We have that now, which is why Freak is blowing up like crazy for Brood War, because these players that are so popular actually can stream now. But yeah, now it's like, it feels like all the players are streaming now, but they're not playing regularly necessarily, you know, because there's no Pro League anymore. But they still do stream, and I think that, you know, if you are a fan of those players, you should probably just go to the Wikipedia page right now, because it's probably, their stream is probably there, and just give them a follow, so that way you know when they're streaming. So if you're like, you're up at 3 a.m., because, you know, they stream at weird times, so you guys, I get that. But if you're up at 3 a.m., and there's nothing to do, and you open your Twitch app on your phone, you look at your following, you're like, oh my god, Solar is streaming. I probably checked that out. I never watched him before. I didn't know he streamed. Just like, go find those guys, support them, follow them on Twitter too, follow them on Twitch. That's how you're gonna keep these players super motivated. You know, and like, there are so many StarCraft fans out there, but to show how much you love them is, you know, obviously it's a great thing.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yep. Our next question here is, Wolf, what is your favorite matchup to play? What is your favorite matchup to watch? And what is your favorite matchup to cast?
Okay, so I guess I answer for StarCraft 2 first. Favorite matchup to play in StarCraft 2, definitely PvT. Just because I feel like this is not about the Adepts, okay?
It's about the Blink DT.
It's about the Phoenixes.
I actually really, my favorite meta was when Blink Stalker was a thing, like the Mothership Core Blink Stalker, because like that was like really fun for me, because I'm just bad, right? But the ability to like have high ground vision without detector, or sorry, without an observer, was like really cool, like, because couldn't really happen any high ground vision to blink into the main and harass until the Mothership came in, or you had to like get a robo and an observer or a prism, and you're like, oh, this is so expensive, and now my push isn't as strong as it was before. But the Mothership Core, something that you have anyways, that you use to defend your base, you're going to use that to attack. It's very squishy, you know. I thought that was really cool. That was my favorite meta to play, and I like all-inning against Terran. Like, there's a lot of different things you can do, and it's really fun to like try to figure it out. And like, whenever I lose when I all-in against Terran, I always have to sit back and be like, well played. Like, you scouted me, you made the right things. Like, I can't even be angry. But yeah, I like Void Ray all-ins and things like that. I just love cheesing Terrans. I will play a macro game against a Terran, but like, that's like not how I'm a player. Favorite game favorite matchup to watch? Ooh, that's a tough one. Probably TVZ. Like, I think that's like so much back and forth. Watching the creep spread get denied. There's like something really satisfactory, I feel, for anyone watching. Like, the scan goes down and like 8 tumors get cleared. Like, even if you're like wanting the Zerg player to win, I think there's just like some feeling of like, it's like when you clean your room, you're like, oh, okay, this is a good feeling. And yeah, just watching the tension between the Zergs trying to creep up the map, get all those bases, the Terrans constantly attacking. Can the Zerg afford to finally get up those ultras? Or rare cases, the Brood Lords, you know, in the late game. And then how does a Terran respond? Like, late game TVZ is really good, but the mid game is super tense. It's like always on a razor thin edge. Where like, oh, he just couldn't get the banners in time, and now he lost everything, and the game is over. Like, it's really tense in that way. And then for casting, I would definitely say I like TVT the most. Like, TVT is the most positional. Like, it's very hype in the sense of, okay, he caught the siege tanks in this one moment, and like, how exciting is it when the siege tanks they're on siege for 1 second, and the Terran sees it, and he stims all his marines, he kills them really fast, and like this lightning quick micro moment, or the doom drops you see in TVT, or the split map, the super positional play from the siege tanks, sensor towers going down. I just love everything that there is about TVT. It feels like speed chess, like on steroids, and that's what I love about it. For Brood War, it's like, my answer's a lot more basic. Like, in Brood War, I actually like playing PvT the most, because I feel like it's like really, you can do a lot as Protoss in the early game to harass. Similar to kind of my thing I was saying in StarCraft 2. I'm not cheesing the Terran, but you know, that Dragoon pressure you put on in the early game to like harass the bunker, and like force the Terran to react. I like how Protoss kind of controls that early game, and like I'm really bad at late game, so like I feel really good in the early game. I'm like, yeah, I kind of know what's going on in the builds, and I'm pressuring the Terran. I'm like making him repair that bunker, I'm doing something right. And then as far as casting goes, or sorry, watching goes, probably the same as TVZ is the best. Just it's like super hype, tense. Can he break the ramp of the lurkers? Split his Marines against them. Late game mech switches. That kind of stuff's really fun. Favorite to cast is actually a really hard question. I think there's like, I actually really like how PvZ works a lot. I like the Corsair play and Brood War and getting the Overlords off and just harassing and having these big attacks with the Zealots coming in, etc. Well, I think I actually have to say ZVZ. Like ZVZ and Brood War is super fast. It's super exciting. It's like ZVZ. We had the SSL last week, or I guess it was 2 weeks ago now, where he's this guy's like trying to mine off gas. He's like micros drones back in some mutas, and like mutas leave for a second. He's like, all right, I can put these back in gas for a second. It's like, oh, do I make a sunken? That's like one less drone. But if I don't make the sunken, maybe he just randomly makes lings and kills me. It's terrible to play ZVZ for any pro gamer in Brood War, but I think as a caster, just all the intricacies and how like cutthroat it is super fun.
Yeah, definitely. All right, man. Good answers. Very well thought.
I agree with everything you said. This is some great answers right there.
The only thing I would disagree. Oh, go ahead.
Well, yeah, I mean, just me being a Terran player, I would have picked more Terran matchups.
Oh, gotcha. My favorite Brood War matchup is actually to watch is PvT. I love PvT and Brood War. There's just PvT. There's just like random stuff that happens sometimes, and you're just like, I don't know. Like I don't remember. I think I was watching maybe I was watching SSL Classic. I don't remember what. I don't even remember who was playing. I randomly tuned in. Was like half asleep because it was like when I woke up, right? And it went for like, and I'm not. And everyone forgive me. I'm not a big Brood War. I didn't grow up with Brood War, so I don't know like a whole lot of the units. But it was whatever the Protoss unit is that like lets you kind of like warp stuff. Or like
the Arbiter.
That's what it was, and like the Protoss did like
recall?
It's the, yeah he did
recall?
Yeah he did the massive Arbiter recall of Zealots into the Terran base, and then just wrecked it from the inside out. And I was like, oh my god, that'd be so satisfying. I was like, this is the greatest thing. And then he had carriers too.
There's the opposite side of that though, where like the Terran has like a bunch of spider mine stuff in the base, and like the recall comes, and suddenly spider mines just blow everything up.
Oh, that would also be very satisfying though. Either way, I wouldn't complain. It would be great to watch either way. So
I personally hated TVP when I was a big Brood War player. Those Arbiters, man, gave me nightmares. I had this giant army, all of a sudden half of them are just frozen in this ice block, and I can't do anything.
We need to bring those into StarCraft too.
Oh, frustrating. Yeah, there are some units in Brood War I really want to bring into StarCraft too. Corsair, Valkyrie. Got to bring them back. Reaver.
Hey, I mean, they said they're open to adding new units now that all the expansions are done. They still want to add stuff, so I'm hoping we get to see Science Vessel.
Yes.
Like people are always like, well, it overlaps the Raven, but I mean, imagine Defense Matrix in the game or Irradiate.
If you want to take out the Raven and put in the Science Vessel instead, hell yeah, I'm okay for that. Yeah. I'm all for that. If I can do my, 2 Science Vessels irradiate each other, get rid of drones thing again, hell yeah, I'm all for that.
We'll just do what Artosis said and just bring back all the old units that have been kicked out of the game, like bring back Warhounds, like they were in for a little bit, like just bring it all back. Just bring it all back.
I am actually so disappointed that the Warhound was removed from the game. That unit was never fully tested. I feel like it was definitely like it was in the game very briefly. It was week one time, and then they were like, nah. I'm like, you guys could have done so much more with this. I was so sad. That was when I was playing Terran only, and I was like, this is amazing. Like, obviously it was broken, but I was like, this is such a cool place. Like, we could have increased its build time. We could have done so many different things to make that unit more fair. Oh well.
Well, I was playing Protoss at the time, and it wrecked Immortal, so I was not disappointed to see it go.
It was so
hilarious because it did like bonus damage to anything that was mechanical, not just like armored. And like you would like get to like a Protoss's base and like one probe would just get in range for like 1 second. There's like probes explodes on it. So I'm like, oh man, I guess probes are mechanical. Like you know, blow it up so fast.
Yeah, they are.
Everything.
So they don't do drones.
Also, they had like such long range.
Yeah.
I remember, I my first game, I played the test map thing that we were talking about, the custom map that someone made with all the stats side. Kind of had some builds ready. First game I played in the beta was against DJ Wheat, and like I just proxy Warhound rushed him. I just remember being like, wait, I could shoot his drones from all the way over here because they had like a really slow attack speed, but it would like 2-shot drones, I think. And I was just like, well, this is so broken.
The Warhound.
Give me back.
God damn it.
I want the Shredder back. I want the Shredder back. Okay.
The Shredder, I forgot about that. That was pretty awesome.
I'm okay if Blizzard makes it so that the Shredder can never be used offensively, because I feel like offensively it's way too OP. But if they allow it to be a defense, like if they program it so that it can only activate when it's near like a command center, I'm fine with that. I won't have to worry about link run-bys or dying to mutas or warp-ins. Give me my Shredder back.
Just make it so it only works against Protoss, so all the Protoss players, who adapted their way to victory can get a taste of our medicine.
No adept for you!
The Shredder.
Shredded it. I love it. I love the concept of the Shredder. I was so mad when they changed it to Widowmine. And also, I really want more like detection. You know, if a Widowmine could have detection, that'd be amazing. Spider-Mines have detections. Why don't Widowmines?
Let's just have Fear Dragon come up with some crazy stuff. So like, what if pylons could burrow? Or just go, yeah, just pop up and then overcharge.
Actually, the pylons in StarCraft 2 in like the alpha before it was released into beta. Do you guys know about the Dark Obelisk or the Obelisk pylon? I think is what it's called.
No.
So like in StarCraft 2, like mules mine more money than like a probe or a drone does.
Yeah.
Queens have injects, so you can make more drones more quickly. The Protoss has Chrono Boost, but initially there wasn't Chrono Boost, so there was something called the Obelisk or the Dark Obelisk or Dark Pylon. Some of those names. I know Obelisk was like used for a while. You can like look this up. If you place it in the mineral line, it increased the probe's movement speed. So basically, just mine faster than everybody else. So like you could have less probes and they would just mine more efficiently. Then Terran had mules and then Zerg had the inject. But they ended up putting Chrono Boost into the game instead. But that was a thing for a while.
I would have liked that. That would have made for some pretty interesting games.
Imagine like it would be a thing to like make an obelisk between your bases, so like you Maynard faster. You're like, oh, I get the probes, like they run down there really fast.
And then could you change like which pylon like it was on? Like you could only have one at a time.
I think it was permanent, but you could like build them anywhere, but they would only be useful in mineral lines. Also, photon cannons in the alpha used to be you could warp them like from one base to another, like Nidus. Like they could go to anywhere with pylon power.
Oh wow!
And there's like I'm pretty sure there's like a Dustin Browder cast battle report game. I think that's what those are called, battle reports. Where like those are the things where Dustin Browder's like terrible damage. But like the photon cannon could like they're like rushed into some Terran's base or something. He just like brings a warp prism and like warps all the photon cannons he has as his main to the warp prism that's in phase mode.
Oh my god! Amazing! Bring that back. I like that idea.
Also used to be able to warp in immortals at pylon power.
Oh yeah, I remember that. That was built into the alpha code. I remember that. That would have been a nice thing. No, okay, wait. So this is one of those random things that I thought about. What if you could have spine crawlers and spore crawlers burrow so that you couldn't see them, but then you could just unburrow them and they would be ready. Maybe after like a 1 second delay and they would like pop. Like imagine that, like, oh, here comes the mute. Oh, he doesn't have spores, and then pop your spores, and then oh no, like, or like, oh, he doesn't have any spine crawlers. I'll pop the spine crawlers. Like I don't know. I thought it would be kind of a cool mechanic actually, just to be able to hide them.
Dude, if there's like a Nidus in your base, and then all of a sudden they burrow spines and spores, and you're trying to get rid of the Nidus, you're trying to get rid of the creep, but these spines pop up, you'll never get rid of them.
I don't know. That would make for some great shenanigans.
Great. That sounds great in terms of like maybe like a UMS map.
A custom map, exactly.
Yeah.
Not an arcade map, not an actual StarCraft thing.
It was just one of those random Fear Dragon thoughts that I had. Like, what if?
I will say this though, the thing they have in the StarCraft campaign where you can do a reactor tech lab combined on your barracks,
the tech reactor.
I think that is amazing and should be an upgradable thing in StarCraft 2. And for the love of God, please give us the option to place our add-ons to the left instead of always placing it to the right.
No, I actually like that. I like that that's a thing.
I don't. It limits in what you can do sometimes.
It's really frustrating for sure, but I think that's like one of the cool things about StarCraft, where it's like, well, that's just how it is, and now you have to figure out a way to. Because there's very few maps where that's actually like a problem, and very few wall offs where that would be the case. Because people are like, oh, it's like if you spawn on the left side, then your stim's on the outside of your wall. But actually, by the end of time, like no one was walling off with their barracks that were researching stim anyways, so it was like okay in the end. But it was something that happened occasionally that was like, oh, it's really funny that that's a thing. I guess you probably shouldn't have walled like that.
Yeah.
The reason I bring this up is because if you're laddering, on certain maps, there are maps where, like, you can't wall with your barracks. You have to wall with your add-on, right? And on those maps, what Terran players will do is they'll build their barracks off to the side so that they can just add the add-on right away without having to lift the barracks. Protoss players know this and will cannon rush you because you can't wall yourself off.
That's called strategy.
This...
You seem a little bit angry about this one, Secret.
I ladder a lot. I have a lot of rage. I'm not a balance. I can't balance one because I represent Team Liquid. But if I was just a regular community member, I would have so much shit to say. There are a lot of things that I've been thinking about for the longest time. That just makes me so mad. This is actually, I like this question. Think of.
All right, let's have this be the last one.
Okay, think of like a really awesome like StarCraft 2 game that you weren't a part of, like you didn't cast it, but if you could, if you had the opportunity to go back and cast that match, which match would you choose?
Oh, this is an easy question for me. It would 100% be the Season 2 of GSL Finals between ST and Marine King, like Game 7.
Oh!
That's like my favorite game of all time. Like that whole series too. Like that would be, if I could go back in time, and like also erase all my memory of like the future too, and like just cast with like my casting skills now and cast that series, I would be like, that'd be a moment where I'm like, oh, that was one of the best casting memories for me, probably. Like, it just would be by default. That's my favorite, like, game of all time, is that Game 7 in the Marine King ST Finals. So, he was actually called Boxer back then, but we all know him now as Marine King. He was more commonly called by English commentators Foxer.
Boxer.
Obviously, the Korean commentators called him by his name, but also they called him Haebyung-wang, Marine King.
Yep.
So.
Yep.
That's where the idea came from.
And then he became the Marine King.
Yeah.
Tastos just casted that match, I'm assuming, right?
And they called him Boxer in the series because, like, he was called Boxer, but that was, like, it was, like, kind of disingenuous to refer to him as Boxer, considering Boxer himself was also playing in the tournament, so.
Can't do that. Can't do that. I mean, he created the name Boxer because he was, he revered and admired Boxer, but if the actual guy is in the tournament, you can't take the name, man.
Well, I mean, we can't take away from MKP. I mean, he pretty much invented, Marine splits. I mean, it was like the first one to be able to do that in StarCraft 2, really at like the highest level.
Yeah. Okay. All right. In StarCraft 2, but he didn't invent Marine.
No, not in general. But I'm just saying, like in StarCraft 2, he was like at that point in time, he was the best at them.
You guys remember?
Only did Marine medevacs? Was Marine King good?
Yeah, you remember the game he played against? Well, this is probably like gonna like jog some memories. There was a game he played against a guy called Kerix on Shakura's Plateau, and he was like the first player to actually show like pure Marine medevac versus like pure speedbane basically, and a few mutas obviously, and he won the game. Like this is really long, drawn out, intense, split map game on Shakura's Plateau, and after the game, he was like, "Yeah, I forgot my combat shield, so like, blah blah blah." And like Tastos didn't even know, like they forgot, like the casting, like they just assumed he had it, but he didn't have it. So he was like the moment to see like Artosis' face when he realized that like he didn't even have combat shields the entire time, and like he was like just going toe to toe with this player with amazing Marine splits. That's one of my favorite memories of StarCraft 2 for sure.
Nice.
That's a good one. Well, I think that's all the time we really have for tonight. So I want to thank Wolf again for coming on. Wolf, any final words?
Thanks for for checking me out, and or thanks for having me on, and thanks for checking this out. That's what I should say.
Checking you out.
Checking me out. I'm like,
yeah.
I'm like, oh, hey,
Wolf,
luckily,
a pretty darn looking guy. Okay. No.
Wait, hang on, real quick. We didn't ask this, but what GSL player or what StarCraft 2 player currently has the best hair?
Oh, it's definitely classic for sure.
Really? I don't know, man. I would say that Lucira actually has some pretty awesome hair right now.
He is definitely top 5.
Top 5,
no doubt.
Top if Lucira dyed his hair like a dirty blonde or something, I think he'd look badass.
Dirty blonde? Yeah. What is he?
He's already pretty badass.
What is he? Liquid Hero?
He's just black. He's just black, you know.
But yeah, just thanks for having me on, and thanks to everyone who watched and checked this out. And be sure to watch SSL Classic. It's starting in about 5 hours. And the other tournaments I cast, the SSL Premier, it's on Mondays. Apex, it's on Tuesdays, and Heroes of the Storm Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I cast a lot right now, but yeah. check some of it out.
Yeah. I cast. Speaking of SSL Premier, you know, we have our 4 finalists, and it's going to be some good matches.
Yeah.
And Wolf has the honor and opportunity to cast those. So
there's not going to be any SSL on Monday though. Just to put that out there, we're skipping a week because it was set up for tiebreakers. So no SSL this Monday, but following week will be there because there were no tiebreakers required. And yeah, I know that the Reddit thread that came up here, I just want to hash that one more time. I know a lot of people were really critical of my casting in the thread, and really appreciate the feedback from you guys. And I just want to say, like, thanks for all the comments, constructive or otherwise, throughout the years. That's all I really got. Thanks for having me on, guys.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, guys, appreciate you coming in tonight. If you like the content, it was the first time you watched the show, please hit that follow button because it really does help. Thanks for those donations that we got tonight through the bits and then through the direct donations. Again, all money right now will go towards the content coming out of Korea, and then also from getting us both to Montreal to do player interviews in Montreal for DreamHack, and then just the expense of getting there because I'm coming from Minnesota, Seeker's flying from Florida. Like, we're both kind of going to meet there. They're not the cheapest. That's why the goal's set pretty lofty, but we believe in you guys, and if it's something you want to see, you know, then we'll be behind it. Coming up next on Saturday morning, 11 a.m. EST will be our next show. We're going to have the makeup episode with Creator. So Generic Creator will be on for that. Yeah. So all the EU guys who are going to watch this YouTube VOD, make sure you tune in for that because you're finally going to get to watch one live because we're going to be on at a decent time for you.
Yeah, pretty much what happened with the Creator thing was he thought it was 12 o'clock at night, even though we contacted him like 3 separate times telling him exactly when the show was going to be. So Creator is just really bad with times. This is why, like, I remember a story, like, he missed the deadline for the SSL qualifiers. He, like, showed up to the place and they wouldn't let him play, and he started crying, and it was this big mess. Yeah. He's bad with times.
He's bad with times. And then Saturday night is when we're going to be having the Dang Shrine cooking stream with me, where I'll be making some kimchi jjigae and then also some gimbap. So tune in for that. Wolf, you might want to watch. It's going to be tasty. I've got the Korean spare. I'm going with the Korean spare ribs instead of the pork belly, and they're marinating right now in the gochujang and barbecue sauce right now. Oh, I sent secret picture of it, and he's like, "Oh man, you're making me hungry." Like, oh, it looks good. It looks
so legit. I was like, I was so surprised that a non-Korean person had everything so perfected. You know, it was so good.
Well,
I give you an idea though, Wolf. When I get there, we'll also do a Taste Try food thing, okay?
All right,
there we go. You guys can do a spicy noodle challenge to see if Secret can handle those spicy noodles.
Come on. I'm Korean. If you're Korean, you had to have done it, okay?
Yeah.
In your life,
all right, so yeah, that cooking stream is going to start at 8 p.m. I know, so it would be 9 p.m. EST because we're going to keep it all in ESTs. So 9 p.m. EST. So remember, Creator in the afternoon. Thanks for cooking stream at night. We're going to make that awesome food, have some drinks. It's going to be a fun time. And then, yeah, look for us in the next couple weeks. We'll have more Korean interviews and more things as things happen. So thanks for watching tonight. We appreciate it. And we will see you for Saturday. So, all right.
As always, we love you guys. You're awesome. Thanks for tuning in.
Bye, guys.
Peace.